Howdy, howdy, gamers. My name is Recollect, and I'm here with a star-studded roster of many, many people to do a little bit of a discussion, shall we say, about the future of League of Legends Worlds plans. We've got ourselves the best authorities, shall we say, on each of the individual regions, and me. So we're going to see what we can get done here. But let's I guess start off by introducing who each of you are and the region you are sort of representing. I was originally going to go by the groups, but we have a little. You know what? No, we will go by groups. That's what we're going to do. So I guess let's start with the representative for Beyond Gaming.
That's me, PCS represented, Nightstar reporting for duty here, and Beyond Gaming is our second seed coming in from the PCS region, and really strong team fighting. Maybe not the most flashy early game, but we are probably rocking. Our star players are going to be in that bottom lane in Wako, extremely good AD carry, and our jungler Husha, who was on the world stage last year, didn't quite perform up to snuff. We'll look for him to bounce back this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be looking forward to seeing what Beyond Gaming can bring, as you say, through that bottom side. Now, moving across a little bit further into Group A, we've got ourselves a bit of a familiar face, shall we say, in terms of the world's format. We've got Detonation Focus Me.
Let's go. I'm Initialize. I'll be repping the LJL today and very happily representing DFM as well, who are coming in looking, frankly, pretty damn unstoppable. The only games they dropped this split were to the second place team, and they crushed them in the finals to boot everything else off. This was their 14th title in the region, which makes them the most dominant regional team of all time, surpassing, I believe it was Rainbow 7, who had 13 in spring. They finally surpassed that, and this is also their 4th title in a row, so they have been insanely dominant, and that's no mean feat when over the last 2 years in particular, the region LJL has really upped its game, and a number of our top teams are no slouches. And this split, DFM have come in after MSI and really shown some learning. A lot of their players are playing a lot of different styles. Mid lane in particular, Yaharong looking so much more comfortable, both as a roamer and as a straight laner. And you add in some growing for Harp, who's the rookie support they've had come in, pairing that up with the veteran in Steel to make a mid-jungle, a jungle support duo that's very deadly. And then you're pairing all that up with Ebi and Utapon, who are the two best regional native players the Japanese region has ever produced. Ebi is world-class, Utapon is right up there as well, coming off the back of a wonderful MSI and a wonderful split, doing some wonderful stuff.
Well, fantastic. I'll be looking forward to seeing what DFM brings as well then, with their star-studded roster, shall we say. Now, if we're talking about teams, personally, I like teams that are too shy. I like them loud and proud. And on the subject of loud, I think we've got a little bit of a representation coming through here. Is that you, RMC?
Yep, hashtag go loud. Brazil's representatives here. You've seen Beyond Gaming. Detonation Focus Me, they're old news. Loud, they're brand new, and there's reason to be hyped for them here. Now, Brazil is a region that's really competitive internally, so we get lots of different representatives. We've had Red Canids represent us the last 2 times. Loud just beat them here in the losers final side of things to make it all the way through. They beat Pain Gaming as well, a massive team in Brazil. The org is completely new. This will be their first international showing. The team, however, does have some veterans here, and I do want to highlight them. They've got Robo in the top lane, the regional most dominant top laner, 4 championship titles to his name on 4 different teams. Mid laner Tinones, some of you might know him from Kaboom 2014. He was the guy who took out Alliance, so if there's a chance for Brazil, it is going to be with Tinones. And the bot lane, Bruntsy, the new AD carry. He's a rookie AD carry, and Brazil has a history of sending rookie AD carries to Worlds who do show up. Or not rookie AD carries, just rookies in general. Red Canids, Grevthar, their mid laner, also a rookie in his first year. Bruntsy's been tearing up the Champions queue here in North America as well, so he's looking in peak form, and I'm really excited to see him go in to what I suspect is going to be a very AD carry heavy sort of meta for Worlds here.
Yeah, the meta's definitely shifted all around the place, and perhaps we can talk about that a little bit more in depth later on. But for the moment, I think we've got a couple more people to talk about. And one of the dark horses, I'd say, in terms of this group, at least in terms of getting this group potentially getting further, is the late great Saigon Buffalo, and I believe that's you, Milky. Let's tell us about Saigon.
It is indeed Saigon Buffalo. VCS is back at Worlds after a 2 year break. We got to see Saigon Buffalo a little bit earlier this year playing at MSI. They did the VCS proud of making it into the top 6, but a little bit about Saigon Buffalo as a team. They have a roster of 5 players who have been playing together since spring 2021. The roster has been unchanged. They've been gelling together more and more, getting better and better. And in the summer split as well of VCS, they were even able to ramp up to a level that they were able to take a series of GAM in playoffs. They won it 3-2. Sadly for Saigon Buffalo, they ended up losing in the grand finals. But they are just looking so much better than they were at MSI. I'm very hopeful for them. VCS as a whole is very hopeful for them. And watch out for their bottom lane as well. Taki and Shogun, those two have been on absolute fire in the VCS, and they're going to be on fire at Worlds.
Well, see if they are on fire, as you say, and a lot of important information here coming through from the 4 of you guys. But let's forget all about that, because none of that really matters. We're all here for one region, the best region here at
Sensing some
Worlds.
bias.
None of the rest of it is important.
What's going
So,
on?
Tell us about the real winners here, the ones who are about to smash everyone and become world champions for the first time in minor region history. Black Boxer, tell us about the LLA.
Hello, my name is Black Bloxer, and I'm going to be representing the LLA, and we have the absolute best representative, as was said, a little shark right here, for Isurus. They're going to be our representatives at Worlds Play-Ins, and what a time it should be. Get ready to meet the absolute fastest paced team you are going to see out of the LLA. Yes, we still play in 40 minutes time, but that does not matter. We are going to win. In all seriousness, this team has a lot of bright spots, but the region as a whole, LLA, is not doing so well for itself. But this team specifically, we have a few familiar faces with AD and ADD in the top lane. Everybody should have heard of him before, was on Suning over in the LCK as well, and has been on the world stage previously. You've also got Saya in the mid lane, the absolute most decorated player in LLA history, 12 domestic titles to his name. But also, with our jungle and our support duo, 80% of the time, these two are roaming together to get themselves first bloods, and it's incredibly impressive. Whether or not it translates to the world stage will be, yet to see. But this team is a very exciting team out of the LLA, even if the region as a whole maybe isn't the best.
So, fun fact for those that don't know, when some casters want to do prep, they might watch games on 1.25, 1.5 times speed with the audio off, just so that they can go through the game quickly. With the LLA, you can't do that because that's just a regular game time, so it's a little bit rough. But we're going to do our best to be impartial for the rest of this. Just got to get the memes out. Love the shark, by the way. That's fantastic. Anyway.
His name is Jeremy.
We love Jeremy. Jeremy, a.k.a. Isurus. Anyway, moving towards the rest of this, we've sort of heard a little bit about the teams. I want to know now about your sort of playoffs and about the way these guys are coming in, because obviously I know that there are some teams at Worlds that are having some issues, shall we say. Obviously, Fnatic is the one that comes to mind. Their bot lane obviously in a bit of a rough spot, and obviously not every single.
Why?
I forgot you're a Fnatic fan. I'm sorry.
It hurts so bad.
Anyway, but yeah, obviously there are some players that coast in potentially off of the skillful demeanors of others, should we say. I'd like to know where your avenues of strength are coming to this one, and we've done that sort of breakdown. We'll just go from left to right. You can all see on the screen. We'll start with you, Nightstar, and we'll move across if that's okay.
Yeah, so as the second seed does mean that Beyond Gaming did lose in the grand finals to our eventual champion CFO, who will be repping us over in the group stage, which will be very, very exciting. So for Beyond Gaming, this was a pretty impressive run in the playoffs because of the fact that they were the 6th seed from the regular season. They came into that first round, started in the upper bracket still, and they upset J Team, who was our 3rd seeded team. We had a lot of respect for them. We expected a lot of them, and they just came in and absolute drubbed them. So it was very surprising. And then in the follow-up series, they went ahead and beat up on Deep Cross Gaming, who was our 2nd seeded team, in an even more dominating fashion. You could say there's an asterisk on it because Deep Cross Gaming had one of the most bizarre 3-game drafts I've ever seen in a best of 5. Something about, hard, salty run backs in games 2 and 3. But, a win's a win, and they made it into upper bracket finals. That was where things sort of was a bit rough because then they did go up against CFO, and one of the points that Beyond Gaming do sometimes struggle with is when there are individual players across the Rift that can just really take it to them. So even though their team fight is really, really good, they do struggle in lane. And CFO have probably the best laners all across the board in our region. That's why they got knocked into the lower bracket. And then they had to take on PSG, which, for those who remember our representatives last year, it was Beyond Gaming and PSG Talent. So it was definitely a spicy lower bracket final because it was between two teams that we saw last year now fighting for the last spot, and it was Beyond Gaming in a pretty grueling series to pull it out. And again, it was off the back of the team fighting. It was off the back of Wako being an absolute stud in the bot lane. And that's the trends that we're looking for when we go into this Group A, which, you know, with Fnatic, roster in a bit of a rough spot. Apologies to Bloxer. But with it in the state that it's in, it does mean more than likely we're not going to see that early game aggression from the EU team. And that helps slow the game down, gives us a bit of a chance to even make a run for the first seed. In my opinion, it might be difficult to overthrow EG. I still think they should be the favorites in this group. But they're just so robust when it comes to team fighting that this team can definitely make a run at it.
Okay, well, it's going to be hype either way. Like, if they, as you say, are able to get out of that laning phase scenario and into those late game team fights, I wouldn't sleep on this team. You know, to be fair, anyone could lose to a team called Flying Oysters, because my word. I'm sorry, but that is, I have to weave that in there, because that is the best team name I think I've ever heard.
Did you find out why they're called that, by the way? So there was a tweet that was put out by it was this, was it you guys who put it out? It was just incredible. The reason the team name is there is like because in Mandarin the name, it makes it sound like family in Mandarin.
Yes.
And like the
in Mandarin, the name is called Fei Muli. So I mean that pretty much sounds like family. So
family. Yeah.
Their slogan is "We are family," so it matches up. They even have a baseball team.
We get a song with that as well.
I knew.
So it's all puns on puns. I love it. It's so cool.
So I knew there was a gas company called Flying Oyster. I wasn't sure if they were related in any way.
If it's CTBC, it probably is. They've owned quite a lot of stuff. It's a bit like SoftBank own
with the
unspeakable numbers of things over in Japan and elsewhere. And yes, they also own a League of Legends team. So there you go.
They're not going to world, so don't worry about them. It's fine. We don't need to talk about the Hawks this time. Sadly, I believe the third place finishers over in the LJ.
They were,
if I'm remembering. There we go.
That's correct.
My memory is not completely gone. On the subject of things that are gone, my chances of doing anything right tonight. Anyway, RMC. Let's get it over to you before we get
I'm not
too
sure I like
derailed.
this segue when we're saying speaking of things that are gone and we go to loud
On
here.
things that are gone. Fnatic's bot lane. No. Anyway.
Oh no!
I think
Why?
I think we know what the running joke is for this evening, don't we, lads? We know where this is going. But no, on the subject of things that are not gone and are going to do very, very well, and I am super excited for, and I have high expectations for, and I think that they're amazing. Plus, they all look really beautiful, and they have lots of money, and they're really popular. Loud, RMC, tell me all about Loud.
No, keep going, Recollect. I like where this is going.
Sorry, I'm getting squeezed down. The weight of RMC's ego just pushing me out of frame down here.
I
The weight of his ego? Or the weight of Loud's
yeah, it's the fan. It's the
Yeah.
support, you know? It's the fan base of Loud that's pushing you down here,
the
initially as
pressure
well.
of Loud's potential here at Worlds.
They
That-
won
that's what it is.
Valorant.
They did.
Yeah,
They
they
did.
just won. You know what? Loud has already won Worlds. They've won Worlds in Valorant.
I hated that,
They're
by the
moving
way.
everything.
I hated that. So for those that don't know, Initialize and I believe RMC were both on another show discussing this kind of world sort of play-ins, right? And I swear, this man's point for the reason why Loud would win is they've already won Valorant. That does not segue. I don't care how...
I buzzed him out on
Not
that
having
one. There was
that.
a literal like
Not
hit
having
the
that.
X.
That's not allowed. right, we're scrapping that. That's going. All right.
I mean,
all
the
right.
question was
Piss
who
it
would win
off.
Worlds. I just pointed out Loud has already won Worlds. You guys didn't specify
True.
the game.
Oh,
But
yeah?
yes, let's
Oh, there we
talk
go.
about Loud's League of Legends team here, because Valorant's accomplished a lot, but we're here for League. They're a very interesting organization. Earlier this year, first split, they actually didn't even qualify for playoffs. They made a change with the jungle AD carry position. This split, the first half of the regular season, because it's a double round robin format, they came out kind of 50-50, 5 wins, 4 losses. They didn't look amazing. What's been amazing has been their latter half of this split. They've just been scaling up and fixing all their problems. In the second round robin here, they absolutely crushed it. They went 7-2, only dropping 2 games throughout the entire thing. And when they hit playoffs as well, their playoffs run was actually really, really tough. I've mentioned before Brazil's the region is very competitive internally, but not only was it competitive, like I said, they had to play against Red, the back-to-back winners. Sorry, it wasn't losers finals where they played them. They played them actually round one, won there.
wow.
Then they had to play up against Pain Gaming. And fans or people who aren't fans of Brazil might not recognize the name quite as much, but Pain Gaming has not finished below a semi-final finish for the last 2 years. So this is an incredibly strong regular team there. They had to play them not once, but twice. Once in the winners final and once in the grand finals. In the losers final, they actually played against Furia, who's Brazil's super team. They're also the regular season first seeds. So Loud had to beat all of them to get where they are. So they've just been scaling up. And in terms of how the team's been playing as well, their style has changed. At the beginning of the split, it was everyone for themselves, kind of coasting on the individual laning prowess of the team. And despite doing that, they still ended up with a 5-win, 4-loss record. So the individual laning is good. The playoffs have seen them come together as a team. Loud usually comes into the game with an early game plan. So teams potentially like Beyond Gaming, who need a bit of time to ramp up, need to protect themselves against the early game aggression that their jungler especially likes to put out. Croc, Journeyman. The man's played in multiple regions. He's played in he's from Korea, played in China, played in Oceania, played in the LJL as well, and finally in Brazil. So this guy's got a ton of experience. In the international stage, though not at MSI or Worlds. So you need to defend against the early game. And then come the mid game, Loud's team fighting is pretty strong. A lot of it coming from that rookie AD carry Bruntsea that we had mentioned before. If he's in form, the game usually just ends in the mid game. If they do fall behind, which is fairly rare, they're a really strong early game team. Their mid laner and top laner, the veterans of Robo and Tinones, they're very, very stable. And we've seen Tinones pop off every time he's shown up at an international event. The last time there's an international event was MSI 2021 on the aforementioned Pain Gaming. Up against Mad Lions, they almost won off his plays. He basically ended up base racing them. He also took Baron with the Zoe paddle star steal away
nice.
from Mad. Yeah, so they're really, really close. And it really feels like Loud is the team that from Brazil that actually might be able to make it out of play-ins, especially with the groups that they've drawn. They're peaking at the right time here. And I think they've got really good matchups into a lot of teams. Recollect, I know you wanted to see like who was kind of slacking a little bit on the team. For Loud, rather than slacking, I think they just have to assign gold efficiently. And what I really like about them actually is their gold assignments. The way Croc is aggressive early, but later on he actually takes less gold, less farm, funnels it more towards the carries of Tinones and Bruntsea. And Robo in that top lane, he's really good at neutralizing top laners. So he won't go down too far. He isn't usually the big carry for this team, at least this split, but he's really efficient with his gold. So you can put it on econ top laners, tanks if you need to, though Brazil doesn't really like tanks, but even on carries, he'll do well without the gold. He'll still have that split push impact here. So I'd actually say right now, Loud doesn't have a glaring weakness. My concern is for the bot lane for Bruntsea's lack of experience and international pressure, as it were. It's his first time coming to Worlds or MSI. But I think if he can handle that, I don't think Loud have an easy weak spot to attack.
I mean, the question will be then if anyone can find that unknown weak spot to try and exploit Loud, and perhaps they'll be able to, like the Baron, give their oppositions a paddling. But pivoting to some other stars within our rosters of Minor Regions, Black Boxer, it is your turn to tell me a little bit about the strengths of the LLA and how their playoffs have exacerbated, should we say.
The LLA, there's a lot of parity between the teams. We had an absolute madness in the middle of the standings. Multiple teams at exactly the same score lines at around, I think it was like 8 and 4 was about where the big cluster of teams was just sat in the middle. Most of the teams in the playoffs, other than one at the top end and one at the bottom end, were all sat in that same bracket. And so it meant that there was a lot of parity, and we saw that especially with Isurus and the way that they had to fight to get themselves into these finals. They went into the upper bracket, beat R7 in 5 games. It was an absolute banger. One of those games went to well over an hour. It was ridiculously long and a little bit indicative of the problem that you're going to see with Isurus and with the LLA as a whole. And then they ended up getting knocked into the lower bracket by Estral. Then they managed to come back later on and beat them in a 5-game, just ridiculous series. The end of that series was the most insane thing you're ever going to see. We've got a little clip of it. Might come up later, but oh my god, it should have been Estral that we're talking about right now. Estral were in the base, they were taking the Nexus, they all get killed, and then back come Isurus, they take out the Nexus, and they become champions. You've literally got Grell on the floor crying and hugging his teammates. He's so ecstatic, and so there's a ton of energy with this team. It's great. If you want to have some good entertainment, watch the last 5 minutes of that best of 5. But the issue with the team is less the individual players. All right, they've just all got killed. In the
That's a bit
opposition
late,
base.
isn't it? That's a bit late, isn't it?
Here comes,
Well done.
and you can
What am I
see
about to
just
witness?
Grell just
You've missed
hopping
it.
up and down as you see. He's crying afterwards. He's so ecstatic about it all, and it's just great emotion out of this team. But coming into Worlds, you have to worry. Estral were the slowest of the teams, but Isurus are still not a fast team by any standards. The average game time in the LLA in the playoffs was 36 minutes. They were incredibly slow. And just coming into Worlds, every other team is going to be a lot faster, is going to be able to just, keep themselves going in the early game. And I think once you get that early game lead, Isurus have a little bit of an issue in getting themselves back into the game. That being said, this jungle plus support combo is absolutely insane. Grell and Jelly, they are ridiculous together. You will see Jelly leave the bottom lane, roam up, usually into the mid lane, and help Saya get a kill. Saya is the main carry of this team, but the enabler is Jelly all the way. Grell will be all across the map ganking, but it's when these two are in combo, that jungle and support, that this team really shines. And so for teams who are not used to playing versus this kind of style, it could be a little bit of trouble. You are always going to have more members to a team fight if you're Isurus. That is their whole playstyle. If there's a skirmish, we're going to have 4 if you have 3. If you want to bring 4, we will bring our top laner down. We don't care if ADD is sacrificing a wave of CS. We are going to bring him down. We're going to win this team fight, and we're going to squeeze you out that way. But any other team that's able to play a little bit quicker than them might be able to push them out and kind of beat them at their own game.
The question is, will that tempo, will that aggression, which is so rare for the LLA, come through into full effect here at World's playing stage for the side of Isurus? Now, on the subject of aggressive regions, there might be none more so than that of the VCS, and whilst they might not be the first place finisher this time around, Saigon Buffalo, a team with a lot of potential, Milky.
Very aggressive team, as you mentioned. I think everyone knows just how bloody the VCS can get. The VCS got a little bit less aggressive this split. I want to say got more calm, it got more calculated, but it was still very, very aggressive. It was actually really weird because at the start of the split, Saigon Buffalo and GAM looked terrible, right? They were having their blues after MSI and all of that stuff. GAM had their support who was ill. And I remember thinking at the start of the split, are we just going to have neither GAM or Saigon Buffalo representing us at Worlds? But in the end, GAM and Saigon Buffalo, they got their act together. Saigon Buffalo were almost 1 win away from not making it into playoffs. That's how close it got at the end. But they did make it through. They swept Team Secret 3-0 in the first round. They went up against GAM, as I mentioned before. They managed to win that 3-2. It was an absolutely incredible series, and Saigon Buffalo played so well. But then going from that to the grand finals, GAM were able to really adapt their drafts, come in a lot stronger for the grand finals, and they just cleaned Saigon Buffalo 3-0 and looked like the dominant team that they had always been. With Saigon Buffalo, I mentioned about the bottom lane when you look at Shogun and Taki, very good roaming support, but also very mechanically skilled. As we like to say every time in the VCS, these two boys, they solo kill Gumayushi and Keria back at MSI. It's one of the proudest moments as a VCS fans. And also, just got to get it in, 2-0 DFM as well. Sorry about that one. Initialize.
We
Thank you,
had
mate.
such
Shots
good
fired.
gold leads and threw it both times.
Sorry,
God damn it!
I'll give you guys a chance to debate back and forth later on which team is better in a minute. I promise you.
In fairness to Sam, those games were incredibly.
They were a
close.
lot of
And
fun. I would have loved a best of 5. I would have loved a best of 5.
It was genuinely my favorite game to watch of all of MSI. But yeah, Saigon Buffalo looking very good, and Froggy, the mid laner for Saigon Buffalo, has had issues in the past. Let's say where he was kind of weak when it comes to CSing. You look at his CS difference at 15 minutes, and it would always be like, "Oh, look at that! Froggy's 10 CS down on average at 15 over the course of a split." He's a lot better now. We're talking about almost even, and he's still really good at roaming. And Saigon Buffalo are a team that are very good when it comes to early skirmishes, and that's facilitated a lot by Froggy playing these champions, sometimes even the likes of the Seraphine in the mid lane, but usually we see the likes of the Galio, we see the Silas as well. And he's got this huge champion pool. He's played the likes of Kane mid, as well as Nautilus and some crazy champions. So Saigon Buffalo have a lot of flexibility when it comes to drafting on what they can bring. And I think with play-ins, we're going to see quite a few new champions hitting the Rift, and Saigon Buffalo really testing the meta. Final shout out I have to give as well for Saigon Buffalo is our jungler BJ. Very aggressive jungler. He was so impactful in the series against GAM. He really brought Pantheon in particular to the VCS meta. And in the past, he's also been an incredible Hecarim back in spring 2021. And as we all know, Hecarim is strong for Worlds. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot coming through from BJ in the jungle.
Now, I would like to say one last thing from you, Milky, just to get 100% confirmation on this.
Yes.
There were originally, and I think we've talked about this off screen
Yes.
before, there were some
Mhm.
VCS visa issues that were a factor. Has that all apparently been sorted out?
It has. So GAM and Saigon Buffalo will have all of their players, both of their coaches will be at Worlds. So no excuses about, we don't have all of our players. We're not sending our best team to the tournament. This is time
Great
to
news.
show up or shut up for the VCS.
Okay, and on the subject of showing up or shutting up, one more thing, sorry. I wasn't going to do this, but this is the actual thing you thought I was going to bring up, isn't it?
Yes, this is it.
Someone made a certain
Yep.
proclamation,
Claim.
shall we
Mhm.
say, about the VCS's expectations at Worlds. Would you mind just repeating that one for me, if that's possible?
So I'm Milky Cereal. Earlier on in this split, when Recollect joined us on the VCS, I stated that I believe GAM could make it to semi-finals.
There you go.
Okay.
That is an official statement now.
Was there a tweet on that?
There wasn't a tweet. I can tweet it.
Yeah, go throw that out. I think
Yeah.
that is a hot take.
Look,
that if you're
I think if that comes out, I think
put that on
we also
paper.
need to get a tweet
Yeah.
about DFM making it to semifinals. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that and tank my credibility.
Or is the VCS finally better than the LJL? Is that what you're
I
saying?
think GAM is is probably better than DFM. That's pretty fair. I think
That's
DFM aren't so far off somewhere like Saigon Buffaloes. They really are a very good team now with a fair amount of international experience and success actually in a fair few games. Throw back to 2021 when they in the spring they were got 10 solo kills onto Khan, who was on down. Was it down one at that point? Great stuff from them. You look over then at something like the Worlds where they managed to come first out of the groups there. Got seeded into a group with EDG and T1 was pretty rough. Wasn't the best time for them, but they still managed to get there. Not the best MSI, but they were up on average 2,000 to 3,000 gold plus at 15. So there was some strength there, even if they were making mistakes in the mid game that were costing them. But you can see over the years, this team has really grown. I suppose at this point, for all that they have become kind of synonymous with the LJL and synonymous with being sent, it hasn't been a straightforward chance for them this time around in summer necessarily, because lurking back in the LJL, watching them at MSI from a darkened room, sharpening their knives, throwing that logo up on a dartboard and going, I want my vengeance, was Sengoku Gaming, who were there going, God damn it, I want my vengeance. We got crushed in the finals in spring. I cannot have this. We are a superstar team. We've got Blank on the roster. We've got this insane AD carry. We've got Jet, who's a former LPL mid laner, and we're going to get our revenge on this Detonation Focus Me team. Like full on and Expect to Gadget kind of vibes. I'll get you next time. And DFM come back from MSI, and the first game back is against Sengoku Gaming, who roll DFM like it is not close. 0 kills for DFM.
Brutal.
It's brutalizing. And from that point on, we've switched to a best of 1 but triple round robin over this year for the LJL. So you play each team 3 times. So we don't have tiebreakers in the same way anymore. And it means the schedule is A, very compact, and B, very full. So you're playing multiple games a week. It's across multiple days. There's not a huge amount of space to get things changed and prepped, per se, if things go a bit wrong. And you could kind of see that DFM, at the beginning of the split, were scrambling a little bit. And Sengoku Gaming were the team to beat. And oh my god, did they look good. They had switched out their kind of superstar AD carry guy called Honey for a guy called Vital, who was from the Challenger Series. Go talk to Chronicle about him, and he will tell you exactly how insane he is. And this team was like unbeatable, doing so much work to do. And then you kind of hit this point where through the split, DF have been ramping up, and suddenly they are right neck and neck with Sengoku Gaming. And there were a few other teams who were pretty good. SoftBank Hawks were kind of up in the upper registers of the league as well. And Rascal Jesters were in this weird space. Crest Gaming Up were in this weird space. But there was this kind of top 2 plus an additional one who were clearly the best teams in the region, even if everyone else was somewhat competitive. It was just these 2 teams were so elite. And DFM came out of the regular season 1-2 against Sengoku Gaming. Now, the first one of those losses was that first game back from MSI, so you kind of wrote that one off. The second game they lost was a wild one where they had basically won the game, and then they got the Hex Flash bug. Like, it was brutal. They had stomped the game. Jet had locked in this counter pick Echo, and they countered with a Morgana support that was diving towers at like 5 minutes. They had literally snowballed every lane at once. It was looking incredible. And they had to remake, redraft. This whole prep thing they'd done in to counter this Sengoku game plan went to the Wolves. It was a very tight game that they lost, having basically spent... It was past midnight when this game started, and they started at like 10 p.m. or like 9 p.m. They'd been sat in a pause for multiple hours. It was wild. And so they come out of the regular season with 2 losses to their name, both of them against Sengoku Game. Both of them a little bit weird with some caveats. One was with, like bug stuff and making things very odd, and throwing prep out the window. One was coming back from MSI and Sengoku Game going, we have been prepping for 3 months for this. Finally, our vengeance is ours. And then you come into this this kind of juggernaut match where it's Sengoku versus DFM. They're in the upper bracket. DFM smashing. It is brutal. It's 3-1. And you come to the finals, and Sengoku Game, you've got knocked down to the lower bracket. They demolish Hawks, the 3rd place team. They come to the finals, like, right, time to redo this again. 3-0. DFM crush them again. They do a really, really good job. And I think we might even have a little clip here as well. So I might have a look at this one as well, because you can sort of see DFM kind of have grown a lot over the course of split, where they get to play things like Lilia top. And then you can still have Utapon on the Lucian Nami, which is something you would not have been able to see a couple years ago because of how topside focused they had been in years past. And suddenly you end up in this kind of game where they get to snowball with this kind of style, and really, really, really pop off with a wide variety of champions, a wide variety of play styles, more importantly, and really, really put to the sword this team that looked really like arguably the best team in the league for a long time until DFM really leveled up. And now they come into Worlds with having been challenged pretty heavily in the regular season, but with a squad that is very, very flexible. For example, Ebby, top laner, played 23 champions this season, including the likes of Mordekaiser, Vladimir, Lilia, Darius, Shyvana, Yone, like Kale. You can ask him to play all of this stuff. His Tryndamere is nuts. His Gwen is nuts. And you can say the same for pretty much every role, which is kind of scary. And while Steel has very much played a lot of the Wukong, we know he plays a lot of other stuff as well. And then you look at things like the damage numbers. It's a pretty even damage share between top, mid, and bot, which is pretty unusual. Normally, you see that kind of being pretty skewed to one lane or another. DF have been very versatile about playing through whatever lane they care to do. They have got something stupid like the average goal difference at 15 is something like. So the second place goal difference in the LJL at 15 was something like 700-ish. DFM were 2,793 gold up at 15 on average. Like the average game time for DFM was 28 minutes. The second player fastest game time was 32 minutes. And that was for V3, who had the fastest game time because they were on the longest loss streak in League of Legends history. They were just getting smashed by everybody. That was the second fastest team. So DFM are coming in with this incredibly versatile playstyle, a lot of veteran experience, having been challenged but come out on top of it with really everything to say we should, if we are playing this right, be making our second appearance into the group stage at Worlds. Am I baking them up a little bit? Yes. There are a lot of other good teams in Group A. We've just heard about a lot of them. But they are in the absolute right weight class, coming into a meta that feels pretty great for them, honestly. With quite a lot of backing to really make a dent in this group. I think it would be very foolish to sleep on this team. I've got them coming out second in this group, but that's with like a lot of fingers being crossed. It's not an easy group by any means, but they are certainly ready and willing to start throwing some of those punches.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add, like Initialize was saying, they have the highest goal difference in the LJL. They have the second highest goal difference of any team in the world.
It's
when it comes to the
nuts.
summer split. The only problem is the team with a higher goal difference at 15 is also in Group A.
I'd also like to just say quickly, it's a little bit off topic, but I just want to say a quick sort of thank you to all of you guys here that have obviously attended this, but also just for me personally, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of you guys, both casting wise and broadcast wise, for a lot of these broadcasts, and it's been a really wonderful experience. I just wanted to say quickly though about the LJL. Ebby is a monster.
He's nuts.
This
Oh
guy
my
is
God.
just actually
Yep.
destroying people. Like, he is terrifying to play against. I think that's something that this year, especially so more than any other year, might be, in my opinion, the primary reason why LJL has been so exciting to watch, because this guy in the top lane just makes the like top three look like a one-horse race. He's a monster. He is so good. There's maybe like one other guy with him, but he is easily the best in my opinion.
Is
I'll
this
take a. Oh.
is this the case where it's like Year of the Duck, but it's Year of the Shrimp?
If it does feel like that, yeah. For reference, Ebby's name literally means shrimp in Japanese. It's great. I'll take us. I know I've spoken quite a long time now, but I'll take a brief moment to say, like, if this was another year where I didn't know this region, I'd say, okay, he's just smashed his region. And in fairness, the LJL's top lane pool is pretty limited in terms of who's a really good top laner, and Ebby is just a clear cut ahead by like bar none. Like, the dude has smashed every metric you care to name in top lane in the region, and he played so many different champions to do it as well. You can't ask for more than this guy. And you kind of say, well, maybe he's playing against weak players, and there's some truth to that. It's only the top three top laners who are actually good, and then Ebby is just actual world class. So there's kind of like this, and then that for the top lane pool. But we've seen him do it internationally against, people like Khan. That's kind of nuts. We know this guy's got the talent, and I'm very excited to see what he can do. I'm just looking at the Group A top lane as like, that's a fun matchup in pretty much every game as well. Wonder, Impact. Hang on, it's
ADD.
It's
later on.
Hazmed. Is it Hazmed as well for
Yes. Looks like a
Beyond,
lot.
who's pretty nuts as well. Like, that group, you're going, oh, this should be fun. But like, I think Ebby's up to the challenge. I think it should be a lot of fun. If you don't have Ebby, you don't win the LJL. Is pretty much the moniker. This guy is just nuts.
I think Hazmet is Saigon. Right?
Hazmet's Saigon.
Oh, is he Saigon?
Yeah.
Who am I thinking
Yeah.
for?
Lee
Beyond
Kai
is,
is,
Lee
yeah, the
Kai,
elves.
sorry.
Lee Kai
You know,
and
I
Leanne.
actually did that. I did that the other podcast as well, and
Pyra?
Pyrotech's like, you were like,
Yeah.
dude, that's bad. It was like, yo, yeah,
Yeah.
what am I doing?
Bro.
That's right. So
It's just like-
no.
I tried to correct myself, thinking it's definitely Hazmet. That's the right way around. It's like,
So it's the Eastern variation of No Ebby, No Worlds, right? That's how that works. Yeah, okay, yeah, gotcha. Cool. Okay, well, discussing quickly about sort of all the teams and what they're all bringing to the table now, lads. The important stuff. You have all had time to look at your worlds
Oi.
groups, your oppositions. Who's oiing me? Hang on, who is this?
Oi.
Who dares? Oi. Oh. I don't worry. The Isurus will get you. You're fine. I didn't say anything. No.
Uh,
But yeah,
No.
you've had a chance to look at your groups. I would like you to tell me now, looking at your oppositions. So that will be in Group A, obviously DFM, Beyond, and Loud, and then in Group B, it will be Isurus and Saigon Buffalo. Tell me why you are going to finish above those in your group, and why you will make it out of groups this particular time around. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of hopium here, but I still want to know what gives you your expectations, at least in those 1v1 matchups, and potentially your overall sort of, if you don't think you'll make it out, can I just get a rough understanding of what you guys think the standings will be going into sort of the end, shall we say, of play-ins? We will. If anyone's had a chance to, please raise their hand already. Sort of think about that. If not, I can give you a couple of seconds and we can talk about other things. Oh, we've got some hands. Oh, guys, I'm so proud of you. Okay.
I've just come off talking, so let someone else go.
Oh yeah, I was going to do it too. Don't you worry.
I can jump in then.
Go on then. Go on.
So,
Sorry,
I would just
Michelin,
like
only
to
playing,
say,
only playing.
I would just like to say as well, I'm going to set the scene for what's going to happen in play-ins, and this is 100% going to happen. You can quote me on this, right? So
A lot of
we've
quotes.
already mentioned the Fnatic Pepega stuff that's going on. So what's going to happen now is we're going to see Evil Geniuses win groups, right? It's going to be, oh my god, NA won a group, NA Hopium, blah blah blah. They'll eventually tank, right? We don't care about them. DFM is going to come second in the group. They're going to go into their play-ins, the knockout stage bracket. Meanwhile, in Group B, RNG are going to win the group. The Arcs are going to come second. Saigon Buffalo are going to have to play Mad Lions. And then Saigon Buffalo are going to win. And they're going to have to face off against DFM. And it's going to be revenge of MSI. And that's what I'm calling it. It's going to be Saigon Buffalo against DFM to qualify for one of the group spots at Worlds.
Spicy.
That's spicy. The thing is, I think that's actually not unrealistic, which
Yeah, I
makes
know,
me
right?
very nervous.
That'd be epic too.
Making me nervous as well.
Be hype, wouldn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah,
That'd be
absolutely.
such a good match.
It's how some rivalries are born, right?
Oh yeah.
Either
Yes.
way,
Sorry, Nightstar. It's no longer VCS PCS. It's VCS LJL. We found new best buds.
I see how it is.
Unlucky.
friendship with PCS ended. LJL is my new best
The
friend.
VCS friendship was only with PSG Talon, and they're not around now. So
Nothing
Fair.
personnel, kid. Anyway.
Hey, last time I checked, my cam is kind of above yours, Milky.
Yeah, that's it. Cam
That's
placement.
that's
There we
because
go.
we're the underdogs. We're coming to topple you from your throne.
Oh, okay.
But
What's
I'm
that
At least
still in
like?
the
Milky knows his
throne.
place. Milky knows his place.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
fine with it. Oh, don't do that. That's painful. Like, come on, you're a guy. Don't do that. That's messed up. Anyway, I will do a little bit of dotting all around the board here, and we will go to RMC. Tell me what you think this time around. What's your expectations here for Loud and the group in general?
Well, according to Nightstar's positional hypothesis, obviously that means Loud is above DFM in Group
Yep.
A here. So no, I've got to have Loud up there. So I will say Group A is really, really hard. First of all,
Yeah.
it was already really, really close. But we've got EG now coming in with a substitute in their AD carry position. Kaori coming in for Danny here, which is going to kind of hurt EG a little bit. I still think they should take first. I originally had Fnatic second, but with all the changes, I actually don't know where to put Fnatic anymore. I think Bean has shown that he's a great substitute. Worlds 2021, he showed up, so that's going to be perfectly fine. But if you swap out both bot laners here for Fnatic, I feel like I have them dropped a little bit. So I actually am not sure that Fnatic will be able to make out with Rux out of play-ins. That's going to be my hot take a little bit. I don't know how hot that is. And no, you know what? It can't even be my hot take, because my hot take is I'm going to have Loud coming out second this group.
Ooh. All right.
Okay.
And it's tough. Like, I love DFM. I actually think DFM is really, really good. But the reason why I have Loud coming out is, first of all, I think Loud is scaling incredibly well. They're peaking at the right times. And the first match DFM play is against Loud. But it's not Loud's first match. Loud actually gets to warm up a little bit before that with Beyond Gaming. So Loud's going to come in warmed up. And it's a best of one, effectively, right? So DFM get one shot at this. And if Loud's warmed up, I think Loud can take it. I think it's going to be really, really close. So I think Loud actually, off of that, comes out second, just barely ahead of Detonation, Focus Me, in that group. So I'm thinking right now in this group, it's kind of like Evo Geniuses, Loud, Detonation Focus Me, and then fourth is either Beyond or Fnatic. I'm not super sure about fourth. And I know Nightstar, you're probably gonna hate me for Beyond
His
Gaming.
eyebrows have been going higher. This
I'm actually really
entire
curious,
time.
Nightstar,
So
about
messed
your,
up.
your
Leave at the top of
evaluation
the
of
frame.
Beyond.
Like,
I
we
want to
just-
know like what you think about Beyond in this group, because I think Beyond's really good. I think if it goes late, Beyond wins. I just think in the current meta, Beyond's not going to get to that team fight stage without getting exposed in their lanes. And even you mentioned that their laning is questionable at times. So that's
Yeah,
one of the
when they
reasons why
played
I thought
against the
Beyond
best
could've won
laning
out.
team in our region.
Is it only against Oysters that they lost the lane? Like,
Yeah.
'cause when I was watching, I thought they were coming out with like barely leads on average for their goal difference at 15. So like I thought, I mean, sure, you're playing against the best. They got smashed against the best team in your league, but these are the best teams in like every region, every minor region coming in, right? So
I love the fact that we're going into Worlds. We've got a team that's represented in the past in Beyond Gaming, and RMC's just like, yeah. So at least they've got a warm up before they play against the good teams. It's like,
Yep.
Jesus.
Can I
That's
just say,
brutal.
RMC, some of us minor regions aren't like you where our best teams are in play-ins, all right?
okay, fair. I'll give you that, Milky. I'll give you that. And you know what? Hey, Beyond, they're not the best team in their region either, which right now isn't looking like a plus. That's all I'm saying.
Ooh, okay. Well, I mean, I was hoping for like a
Fighting
little
well.
bit of something
love
from
it.
this.
They
But there's
went
some- there's some
1-3 in Worlds
spice
last
here.
year. Detonation Focus Me smashed them in that group. So
I
like,
mean,
you know,
so-
not to be funny, but like I was on a podcast with I think it was Cubby and Kelsey Moser at that time, and literally on that day, that was the day when their AD carry had decided, in his infinite wisdom, to get himself kicked from the team by simping for publicly
was
available
mid
Insta
lane.
titties.
That was
like
our
it was
mid lane.
a
Oh,
mid
it was
laner.
that
Is that what it
guy.
was? Oh.
I forgot
It was
about that.
even it was just sort of like for all that DFM played very well there, like the Beyond Gaming had literally just like torn out their mid laner, had gone diving off the deep end for very little gain, shall we say.
My guy. My guy.
Yeah,
He fell.
that was probably like the biggest freaking asterisk of all time.
It was
RMC.
massive.
You are digging for a reason. And
I
Imagine-
all
mean,
have
usually
to
you guys
say-
send
Imagine-
PSG Town. I don't have a lot of tape on
Imagine-
Beyond
imagine-
international events when you keep sending PSG.
Imagine you guys were like you're one of his teammates, you grinded your like ass off for a whole year, and then you get knocked out because you catch your mid lane lacking. Like just simping for literally the lowest shit you can get. Anyway, that's
Sorry, are we
some
still talking
history
about
books
Beyond, or are
here.
we talking about G2 right now?
Oh, God. Oh, let's not go into that.
Oh
Let's-
no.
I love
Yeah,
EU's just the punching bag
let's
for
take
tonight. You've
down all
got
the
Fnatic
EU
and G2.
teams. Rogue next.
I guess you could say due to Carr lost something important.
Oh dear.
Recollect.
Move on.
I like it.
Moving on,
in.
moving on. Anyway, but now that we I guess we've got a couple of clips now that we can use for later on for spicing up those matchups. But Nightstar, are you going to take that
Yeah.
from this
I mean-
loud man? He's just speaking with with a volume up. Maybe he's just chatting absolute donkey. I need to
Recollect. I had to let him keep talking.
Oh, you
because
did?
That's the only way to like hear how big his ego is. You
Yeah.
know,
There's a loud clip
and
apparently.
he is smoking some
Wait,
big
hold up.
stuff.
Is it ego or is it copium right now?
Meg, play the clip.
Smoking some
Play the
big
clip.
stuff there. It's
Let's
like,
see.
man, they were such a joke last year. It's like, bro, their mid laner literally ran it down pretty much IRL. It doesn't get much bigger asterisk than that. They are.
Oh,
Sorry, do you see the scoreline right here when they're doing this? Like, they're 21-7. They can do whatever they want right here.
I
Wow,
love the
I
idea.
mean-
I love the fact that that's just running it down IRL. That's got me. That's tickled
Yeah.
me. Okay.
Yeah, they're running it down IRL and they're still winning. So,
There you go.
I don't know.
So,
Okay,
so Beyond Gaming, like, they're just gonna come in and absolute destroy them because Husha didn't get to showcase his talents last year because his mid laner ran it down IRL. Like, this man is just too good. You will see him in Academy LCS next year. I have no doubt about it.
He's
Someone
very good.
is going to pay enough money to take this man. a lot of these players, I have no doubt, will get call-ups to LCS Academy if they choose to do so. So for Beyond Gaming, they have arguably the best jungler in the region, even though they are the second team. And they also have, I would say, the best AD carry. So they have two players in very key roles that are going to be really instrumental in this current meta. So I think they are more than comfortable to steamroll Group A. And RMC is talking about, well, EG should come out in the first seed. Yeah, they probably could. Unless a Beyond Gaming just absolutely smash them into the dirt, baby.
Oh, get him!
You're talking about
Okay.
Loud having to warm up against BYG before they take on DFM. They're going to be looking to bounce back from a loss.
You tell him.
It's not even going to be a warm up. It's
Get his ass.
25-minute draw being into the dirt.
Yes.
That's what I love to
Eh,
hear. Your
Nightstar, I haven't
late
even
game
sent
team
you-
fighting team going to smash Loud in the early game. I love that.
Hell yeah. Bro,
Yeah, I
All-
love that
all I'm
idea.
gonna
And
say-
Nightstar, I've got to say, this is the NA copium right here. Nightstar and I are the NA representatives, and he's like, you want to rag on Loud, I'll give you that. But you going after EG like that, Nightstar, you're huffing some of whatever I'm huffing over here.
bro. All I'm
EG
saying.
have time zone advantage. I will give them that.
You
They don't
do.
have to face any jet lag. There's
Yeah.
no
Top side is
excuses.
cracked too.
There's no
Hey,
excuses
Come
for
on,
them
if we're
not to
talking
come
about
out first.
advantage, home team advantage for the LLA playing,
There you go.
Yes,
There you
yes,
go.
yes.
Get him.
Hang on.
Okay.
No,
that's
no.
what we're
If,
winning.
if we're
Get 'em.
talking about jet lag, that means for the teams that are traveling over, that they'll be playing games in true game morale. So actually, they have the advantage.
Oh, true. That's
Oh,
a shout.
Okay.
Dude, all I'm
Okay.
gonna say is that from Beyond Gaming, you say that Beyond is a warm up for Loud. That's not true. See, Group A is a warm up for Beyond. They're just getting ready for the actual group stage. That's what it
Absolutely.
is, right? There
Yeah,
you go.
No, here's the real deal.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are winning Group.
Okay. Let's go, Chiefs.
We
Yeah,
have no representative on this show.
Go on.
Someone
I mean-
has
For the
to
need
gas
to
them
say
up.
this, I tried so hard to find someone who could do this time and work with me for the LCO. There was no one.
Yeah.
I tried so many people. If you are the LCO representative that I missed, I'm sorry. Slide it into the
yeah.
DMs and have a go. My bad, but I could not find anyone. I tried for weeks.
So, like,
I'm gonna
serious-
scream at Marbinogi.
Yeah, no, Mabinogi will help. I had a serious shout out to Kitty who helped us out the other day with one, but that was also where the podcast for me started at midnight and finished at 1:30 in the morning. So like that's just the time zone deal because
Yep.
you've got to try and get that there over largely in Australia where this time of night is like 5 a.m. and no one wants to go on a podcast at 5 a.m.
Which is perfectly understandable, right? It is what it is. At the end of the day, we're just here because with all said and done, and all the jokes and stuff, we just like League of Legends. That's
like
why we're
NA.
here. That's
We're
why
here
we've
for
watched
fun.
it. Yeah, I mean,
like
you-
held hostage by equal measure.
yeah, bro, it's fine. And as mentioned before, at least this year it's only an Uber speedrun. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think that there is one more region we have to discuss about who is going to be the top, as I previously said, the winners of Worlds this year, the first minor region in history to win the League of Legends World Championship.
It's us.
It's risky. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we are gonna win, and I have a bone to pick with all of you. Nobody at all mentioned Isurus whatsoever when you were
We're
talking
doing
about
Group
who
A!
was
We're
progressing.
doing no group.
Bro,
Yeah,
that's coming Group A.
bro, RMC and Nightstar are starting to fight with each other. Meanwhile, Blocks is just like, "Hey, Saigon, you want to acknowledge my existence?" please?"
I'm sorry, we're just looking at the major regions.
Oh. Yeah, it's gonna really
Honestly,
suck.
the
I mean,
disrespect.
that's what he says before he gets kicked out by
The Disserus?
EG in second.
Oh yeah, Isurus is
Stop.
about to just run Saigon into the ground.
But-
And I mean, then we're gonna come first in the group because NA LOL, they're gonna lose out, and Fnatic isn't
Get
a
'em.
team anymore. And then who else is gonna win in this group? Clearly Isurus.
I mean, Fnatic are in the other group though.
Bro, DFM, more like don't fucking matter. Get rid of them. We don't need them.
Yeah,
Get them
that's
out.
it.
We'll beat him in the
That's it.
play. We'll beat him in
Yeah,
the fight
alright.
afterwards.
You to gone.
go.
that's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it
my
is.
bad.
Yeah.
Wrong group getting too hype.
Okay, sorry.
We're
Still.
tripping.
Oh yeah. There's no chance for Isurus. I'm so sorry to this region, and I want there to be a chance.
It's doomed. It's doomed. I'm out. Bye.
Just give the argument that sharks
Can
could
we-
eat
can we
lions, they
clip
could
that?
eat buffalo.
Can we just
No,
come
no,
on?
no, no,
If
no.
they're on
Everyone
land,
was
they're
amazing.
drowning.
See,
Like they're just
no,
like
no.
flopping on the beach, dying as they're trying to
Right.
deal with this lion in the middle of the
Right,
Mexican deserts.
I got you. Don't worry. DFM are just they're actually playing like sharks because everyone is looking at them. You know, oh, these guys aren't important. We'll just play amongst each other, and then when they're battered and bloody, when they've done all this prep on all the other regions and not focused on Isurus, they're gonna sneak up behind. And then they're gonna fall flat because they're on land, and then it's real sad. But anyway,
Yeah.
they're gonna try their best. All right, they're gonna.
They will.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
team
you know, the
is
good
gonna
thing
try so hard. Are they gonna? I don't want to be unfair to them, but also, I feel like the amount of copium I'd have to be on to say that this team is gonna get even into that top 4 in order to progress is possibly too much. I love this region. I will die for this region now that I've picked it up. But also, I think that's going to hurt me a lot in the long run. It's the pace of game is so slow. Guys, please take a Drake. I'm begging. Before 20 minutes, or even at all this game, or just one. It's sat right there. This is not necessarily an Isurus problem, but when you are the fastest in your region and everyone else around you is better, plus it's DRX and RNG. RNG shouldn't be in play-ins. The big bright spot is that this team is going to have an absolute blast. Their mascots with the inflatable sharks, awesome. Being on home turf in your own stadium, the crowd is going to be roaring for them. It's going to be a great time. And also, there's only one way that these minor regions get better, and we've seen it time and time again. It's by going to Worlds and getting your teeth kicked in. You then take those lessons that you've learned, you go back to your region, and then you are better. You're able to drag the rest of your region up as they try to compete. And so although LLA, they really aren't here at this point in Worlds, I think they might win one game, possibly versus Mad, because I don't think Mad is very good, and I think possibly in this very first game of Worlds, they might be able to come through, but the experience for these players being able to compete on the world stage, that's what they will tend to take back to their domestic region in order to make the region better. 3-4 years down the line, that's when we might see LLA coming through and getting into that first group stage on the main stage.
If it makes you feel any better, CB LOL used to be like that too. It's been about 2
Yeah.
years, and we finally learned to take Drake. So
Exactly,
get
it
that.
takes time, and I'm not going to begrudge the LLA this time. Isurus is the best that we have to show, and I think they're going to make the region proud, but I don't think that's enough to get them through into the group stage.
Nightstar, you wanted to?
Yeah, so you're telling me I'm putting the bank on Isurus getting the upset. I'm
Yeah.
down.
That's what I was gonna say. Actually,
I'm down.
this is the one thing that is actually going to be pretty relevant for Isurus is that if we are in a group which arguably, you know, any of the minor regions might want to take a chance at or a crack at DRX or at RNG, then you are kind of looking at one of these sort of other teams, if you will, to steal a win. And if we're talking about it from that perspective, if these guys don't show up, and DRX has been a bit shaky recently, I'd still say that they're hard favorites, sure, but the chances of Isurus winning a game against one of these teams or even one of the other minor regions isn't zero. There is
think
a
they'll
world
pick a
where it
game.
happens. Yeah, and the question then becomes, who is that game against? Because if that does happen, that's huge for any of their opposition. If you lose to this team and the other teams all beat them, then you are in a bit of a weird spot. So whilst Isurus might not be the front runners to get out, this isn't a team you can ignore because of the massive impact they have because they are not the favorite to get out.
And I mean, it's a lot of games. Like you said, there's a lot of games very quickly. They're on home turf, which means that they're going to be a lot more comfortable. No jet lag, no traveling whatsoever. They're already here.
Yeah, you see the
Also-
leaks, the water dripping.
Also, fun fact: I live really close to an IKEA, and they sell shark plushies. So I'm
Yep.
absolutely going to go and buy
Hey.
one before World starts,
Oh,
and
nice.
we're going to be repping the shark. But yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
You know what's interesting
pick
about
one
Group
up.
B
Possibly.
is the fact that it's RNG. They're just RNG, right?
Yeah.
But you look at all the other teams, it's actually just the zoo, right? You have dragons, you've got wildcats, you've got sharks, you've got a lion.
What the
you've
hell
got a
zoo do you
buffalo.
go
say
to for a
RNG have
dragon?
basically literally made themselves like an anthropomorphization. There's the word of
Ooh.
like this abstract context of construct of chance. Like what does that actually look like? A dice? Like what is
know.
what is the
I would make
Like
it like
a 20? D&D
I
20?
mean, if it's a
Ah.
20-sided die, it's clearly weighted for this group because they're only rolling 20s here.
Yeah.
I imagine the is it the Christ de Rivera? Is that is that what it's called over in Brazil, the big symbol. It's just that, except with two
Cristo
like
del Redentor.
Cristo
Yeah.
Redentor, yeah.
apologies.
Cristo Redentor.
So that, but just with two dice on like the two hands. That's what we call that.
Oh, yeah.
That's our Jesus right there, baby.
Hey, if it
They're-
is all
They're the
animals and the roof
zookeepers.
leaks, we are the aquatic ones.
Nice.
We
Oh,
will
yes.
be fine.
But that did happen. It did happen.
It did.
What I was
That's
going
what
to
I
say
was
is that
thinking.
that's a fun fact for you, for anyone who doesn't know. Obviously, the play-ins are taking place over in our where the LLA is hosted. We did have leaking issues in our, I think, semifinals or finals. Is that
Oh,
right?
seriously?
Semis.
Yes. So there was a
Delayed
leak in
by
there was a
hours.
leak in the roof. So honestly, there was foreshadowing that the Sharks were going to win, but
Yeah.
we're going to have that water, baby. We're making it rain.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
This
rain
is the
dance
way
coming.
that they win.
We're going to
I'm
hit with
excited
the.
to watch them play.
We
I'm
hit with
excited
the
to watch them
DFM
crowd
special,
roar, but
We're losing. We're hitting with the DFM special. Chrono break that, and we're Gucci. It is what it is.
Please don't remind me of that game. It was,
Dude,
DFM lost that game, right?
it was.
DFM won that game. That was the problem. I think
Yeah,
Saigon
yeah.
lost, right? This game,
There
I
was
just
some
want to
slightly
say.
salty tweet chains.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Oh, we were all very angry. For those that don't know about this game, it was about was it around 10k advantage or something like that?
It
Sometimes
was.
goes,
It was. It was
wasn't
10k in about 25 minutes. Game
Second
was
beer or
doomed.
something.
Like they were like it
Yeah,
was. It was
it's-
so the whole shebang. Game
Yeah,
was
it's like-
done.
The fact this game wasn't a given win, if you will, is crazy to me.
So part of that is true, but like basically there is a
Yeah.
very specific hard line of metrics that Riot have in the rulebook around what is considered so far out of reach that you cannot that you can call it as one. And it is like a very specific thing around towers, gold, dragons. Like there's basically a lot of things that need to go into that checklist. If you're shy on any of them, it's basically still considered playable, even if it's unlikely. And I understand why it is that way, but I can also understand why for the players it's like, oh, for God's sake, look at this game, look at the comps, look at where we're at. This is done. And like the only reason the gold lead isn't that big is because we're only 20 minutes into the game. We haven't had chance yet. Give us a minute. But that's the way of it.
Yeah, as a much lower cast than all of you, I can say it's bullshit, and it won't affect my career. So it was absolute bullshit. And I will stay with that till I die. So that's just my take. Anyway, moving onwards.
Recollect said
Bruh,
the game was
recollect.
bullshit.
Recollect, Riot Games' choices was bullshit. There we are. I'm making it, boys. I did it, man.
I said it over Dom Sacco. No, that's esports news right there. Let's go.
Bro, NOC.
It is
done.
a
No
podcast.
chance.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm sure they're not going to hold it against you. Plenty of other casters have said stuff like bullshit.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah, like Nicer saying Beyond's gonna smash the group.
I would just like to say that I love Tencent and I've done nothing wrong, I promise. Anyway, moving towards the more sorry, Sam. Anyway, moving towards now that we've done sort of a rough roundup, I guess the final thing for us to properly discuss would be the world's meta. We have I imagine most of the teams here have qualified off of Worlds Patch. I believe all would make most sense. And with the EU Masters taking place, I'd like to ask, just in general, just a general sort of wording, what do you guys think about how it's going to shake up the meta? Do you think things are going to affect your teams positively or negatively, or what are you guys thinking?
I'll throw two things quickly. So I'll just say briefly because I didn't get a chance to with the discussion on the who's coming out of groups.
Yeah.
I don't think Fnatic.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Because if Fnatic are in as much danger as people might think, because Bean and Rux have been a duo for a long time. And they've been a very good duo for a very long time. They didn't do so well in ERLs this split, but they were practically undefeated in spring playing wild shit. Like they are a very, very good duo on Fnatic Team Kelso. Don't sleep on them. Remember, LVP just won EU Masters. So like that they are not a bad duo by any means. They've been a very good duo for a very long time, and they've kind of been LEC ready for a little while. And of course, Bean had a very good showing at Worlds last year and stuff.
definitely.
So I don't think they're as doomed as people think they are if they have to be the starting duo because they've got synergy inbuilt already and they are both very good players. So
It's
It
not
may-
the end of the world. It's not good. It
It's-
doesn't fill me with confidence as a Fnatic
No.
fan.
but it shouldn't
But-
it shouldn't be doom
yeah.
and gloom entirely either.
It's funny to joke about them considering what happened with Upset last year,
I
leaving,
know.
and then leaving.
It's so awful.
I mean-
it feels, as a Fnatic fan, it feels awful, but also the memes are possibly too far. We
At least
Probably
Fnatic has
should
the
be
best bean
fine.
in terms.
You just got beamed? Yes, it's true.
Shout out BJ.
Um, But yes, worlds matter. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there because it would.
Yeah.
But again, I spent a lot of time around ERL, so it'd be like, don't sleep on these guys. They really are quite good.
I
It's probably a similar
genuinely
situation with
apologize, by
Cowrie,
the
right?
way.
Who's very good. No, it's
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Ruining my life
no,
is
no,
the
tell-
best
tell-
way possible.
Now that I've completely griefed that,
It's-
Initialize, tell me,
Hello.
what is your breakdown of the world's finishing spot?
So it's quite interesting in the world's mode. Like, wait on, is this like a meta or the?
No,
the
for
big-
your the groups.
The problem is I've had to change my predictions so many goddamn times because I originally had Fnatic DFM 1-2.
That's a
Um,
good
but
thing,
with and I basically had Beyond and then EG because I said, look, EG coming with a substitute AD carry into this group. Oh
Wow.
goddamn, that's rough. Like that. But now, of course, Fnatic are coming in with a substitute bot lane, and I have no idea anymore.
It's one up EG, guys.
Yeah, so
We
I
can't let
think
any outdo us.
so I think it will be Fnatic first still because I actually think that the quality of their players is still very, very good. I don't think it's as clean as it would be. I'll still put DFM second. There's a little bit of copium in there. If DFM are going to get out, I think it's in second. I put Beyond third, but I think it's a real world where they slip down to fourth under EG. I think this is not an easy group or an easy meta to play it reserved early game. Things have changed very heavily since playoffs, and now effective you have to be able to play early game, particularly in terms of getting pressure in mid. Even if it's a scaling team fight mid lane, you still want pressure in mid, and you need to be able to play aggro bot laners. And if you are relying on things like Zeri and Sivir, by default, Zeri in particular is just not viable right now. That's going to suck for certain teams who relied on that to get here. That is not true of someone like Utapond. That is not true of people like Bean and Rux. It certainly isn't true of Hylissang and Upset. We know what they can do. Cowrie's a better fit than Danny, arguably in some ways on that one, because Danny was more of a teamfight AD carry, but I still think that's a rough time to come in as a substitute. I think, unfortunately, for the other teams in Group A, though, that makes things a bit difficult. I think Beyond should still be pretty damn good. I really rate their top laner, as I said. I think Likai as well is just good, frankly, and Waco's a superstar. And I think there will be enough mistakes in mid-game for them to just have the consistency to come in third and then play off against whoever comes out of Group B. I will throw a bone out for Chiefs, though, who are really quite good. They only dropped one game this entire
They
split.
bodied their region.
They only dropped a single game in finals. I was chatting with
27-1.
Yeah, chatting with Kitty from the LCO, and of course, like she knows a lot of players. She's up in Challenger in the Oceania region, so she plays with a lot of these guys. She casts a lot of these guys, and she's just saying, look, if there was a chance for an LCO team to make a deep run, it's this time around. There's a lot of veterancy on this roster. There's a lot of talent on this roster, and that makes predicting this group a nightmare. I think for Group B, it's a lot more clear cut on paper. I think it's probably RNG, DRX, Saigon, whoever else comes, and then probably Mad fourth. But that's still.
Yeah.
But that's it. I think Group A, I think there's a real world where, honestly, 4-5 of those teams could be pushing to come top 2, which is scary to think about.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems with Group A as well is the teams like Loud and Chiefs, like they're good, but we don't have a good baseline to compare them to the other regions, right? So suddenly becomes a lot more complicated to try and place a lot of these teams. I said it on the other podcast, I'm going to say it here. I think any team could really come out of this group. I don't think there's clear-cut winners or losers. I know a lot of people are looking down on Loud, and I'm fine with that. I understand it. And I think there's going to be lots of surprises from Chiefs and Loud specifically, just because people don't know these teams well enough to really comment or understand how they're going to interact within this group.
Yeah, and for the side of Chiefs, this is a squad that feels very similar to DFM of last year, right? With the Arya lineup where they were extremely skilled. And when you look at the region, that was their big hope. Basically, if they didn't do well, this region was going to go through a long period of regression to try and bounce back. And thankfully, DFM really drove it home. They got to the group stage. Unfortunately, weren't able to get much more after that, but it's still a
Tough
big
group.
step. And
Yeah.
I think this is really kind of OCE's really big opportunity to make that push. And it's just hard for a region that continues to get pilfered by their talent just constantly just getting farmed away. So if it doesn't happen now, it may never happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only time will tell, and luckily for us, the time won't make us wait for too long. As Worlds will be starting, I believe, on Thursday, coming
Mm-hmm.
soon
At
in 2 days.
horrible times for anyone
Yeah,
Yo,
not in
it's
North
great.
America, China,
It's
or
good
Korea.
here. Yeah, I'm good with
I was
that.
I was
Let's
gonna
go!
ask. I was originally going to ask a bunch of people actually, like in the casting scene too. A bunch of people wanted to do a live viewing of it, but God knows that's not happening because I am not going to be able to get up at 5 a.m. if I've got stuff to do. With the
We
rest
should
of my
have
day.
Sleep is
live
for the
viewing
weak.
combined with watch the casters fall asleep.
I mean, what you
Yeah.
do
There
is
we
you
go.
you hand over who's on the live viewing as the day goes. I was like, I gotta go. Someone
It's
take it
like a
from me.
subathon. You know
Baton
those
pass.
subathon things?
Well, if
Where
we
you
could do a
just, like,
world's, do a
EU
world's
Fall
starts
cup
asleep
at the
on
thing.
start
camera.
of the day over to NA as we get later on into the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be quite funny
Oh.
to do something like that. That might be something I'll invest into. We'll see. We'll see how
Hilarious.
we go with that.
Fund our unofficial English streams by subbing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Except we're not allowed to do that because we'd get in trouble for making
I
money
mean,
off of riot stuff. But anyway, I was actually
But no,
quickly checking to
genuinely,
see.
people shout out your individual little
No.
unofficial streams. This is
Mhm.
why we're here. Shout them out.
True,
Talk
true,
about them.
True.
Go.
true, true.
LGL officially unofficial. LGLOU. Go lovers. Woo.
Poggers.
Yeah,
Okay.
CB Law English. Back
Never
us
mind.
up here.
Okay, okay.
And
Ah.
I'm also LGLOU, so
You know it.
LGLOU support is also good. I
You
work
love
for
it.
both of them.
You love it.
Pog.
Twitch.tv/VCS English or on Twitter VCS English.
Pog.
Go on, recollect. This is your thing. You started this.
Nice. Sorry, is there a...
I'm on the official broadcast, so
Hell yeah, you are. That's my boy
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Hell
Get him
yeah,
out,
he
he's
is.
not
There we
allowed
go.
in here. What's he
I
doing
feel
being
better.
Yo, you
Yeah.
can still
Yes,
plug your
yes, he
channel,
is.
man.
Sorry. Can I?
We
can I
need
just-
more than an
sorry.
impunity waiting room for PCS right now.
Oh, sorry, Nightstar, I didn't hear you. Sorry, could you flex a little bit harder? What was that? Could you repeat
Oh.
that for me?
I
What's that?
cast at
Big dump
low
on Nightstar
Pacific.
Day. What is
Yeah,
this?
you do. That's my boy. Let's go.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
Right, and then obviously you got us at LLA English unofficial. I think is what we're at, unless I'm being dumb. Yes, cool.
I mean, you are being
so-
done, but you're also right. So it's a decent
Hey,
50-50.
it's a-
There you go.
I like to mix it up. I keep things special and unique at all moments of the day. I was just checking to see if Cowrie had played at Worlds because I recognized the name. I thought he was 100 Thieves, but I don't think that's right. He's played on Supermassive before, but
Yes.
I just
Yeah,
realised this is why you put Nightstar on the top row of the cameras.
bro, I didn't control this. I just want to clarify that real quick. This was
okay.
Meg. Meg
We
made
will
this.
get top
This is
row
why
when we
Meg
get to
did it.
go official.
Yeah,
Hikaru was
Yeah.
insane in TCL. That's all I have to say because I
Yes.
watched him
Yep.
the year before he came over to NA, and the moment I watched just a few of those games, it was just like he's coming to NA. I thought for sure, Armut was coming to NA. That didn't happen. He went to LEC, but it was
Yeah.
still pretty much the same
Mm-hmm.
read. So that the TCL is just chock full of very, very good players. Luger, he made
Oh
his
yeah,
way over.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
So,
Closer, you know.
Yep, not
I
too
think-
shabby. But
Yeah.
PCS, that's the other region, guys.
Poor old Doggo. Like there's so many players go super well in the PCS. It's like, and now it is time to go to the LPL. Can't blame
think
them, but like it's,
he
at
got
least-
hard done by BLG though, because BLG
was
was
a
just
rough
a disaster
situation.
all across.
it was
the
a rough
board.
situation. And like, and in
if it-
fairness, like it's not Uzi or Doggo's fault, but they were basically in a position where you were built to be the super team. It didn't work out, and suddenly all the pressure was on you
Yeah.
because but Doggo was underneath Uzi. Uzi has to be Uzi, or it's kind of doomed. And it's like, well, what do you do in this situation? It's such a
Yeah.
hard place to be. And I don't even think
I
BLG
think-
were bad. They just weren't great, and they were supposed to be great.
No, yeah, talent wise, it was still there, and I think it was word that it was like some back end stuff that really just put them in a bad spot. So, we'll see what happens to Doggo, but for PCS, it's Shun is probably making the jump over to NA. I would guess Wako is probably gonna field a couple offers too. These two players are very, very good and definitely will be very difficult for PCS to keep them here.
The plight of the minor regions. As soon as anyone shows any level of talent, it's just like, oh, fine,
And
okay.
yeah, in addition to the fact that there's of course the rumor that minor region talent will just be native. they won't count
Yeah.
against the import
Yeah.
slot. So if
2023,
that
yeah.
happens, I think PCS will be hard done. TCL will be as well.
I think
LJL's
all minor
losing some
regions will be
people.
hard
LJL's
done.
gonna
Yeah.
be upgraded.
I mean,
I think
like,
that's just a killer, isn't it? To all minor regions, really. If
The-
they,
the
all of
one-
your
Yeah.
best talent
Yeah.
just gets nicked, it's messed up.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is there is systems in place to have certain foreign speakers come over if you don't know English, and that's particularly true for Korean and more recently Mandarin.
Mhm.
If you are speaking, say, Japanese and stuff, there aren't really coaches that are dual
Yep.
language English Japanese or whatever, or for like
Yep.
for a number of other regions, and like for Japan in particular, English fluency is still somewhat hit and miss, shall
Yep.
we say? So I used to be a teacher out there, so like I'm aware this is a bit of a tangent. I'll take 5 seconds and I'll move on, and this will probably be true for a number of regions as well. But basically, for a long time, getting into university, you only needed to read and write it. Speaking and listening was just not part of the exams to get in for English, even if it was a requirement to get into uni. It's only more recently, since like 2018, I want to say. So the class that was in what it would have been, they would have been last year of middle school in 2018. They
Yeah.
would have been the first year going toward, I think it's this way around, would have been the first year going into university where it would have been a requirement to have English as a speaking thing. But that means for a lot of the players who are younger, whatever, haven't even bothered going to university and that stuff because they've gone straight towards League of Legends and things. Their English skills aren't as comfortable with it, and Japan's always been a bit odd about speaking not Japanese. And that's true. So if you're then trying to go to another region, don't speak the language, aren't very comfortable with it, don't have the systems in place to deal with it, there might still be some reticence for certain players from certain regions. I speak potentially for LJ in particular here, where that might not be so much of a drain for those players. Potentially.
Yeah, and I think that also goes similar to VCS, where while the VCS players are incredibly skilled and the teams will take risks on picking up VCS players, it is very much a risk because the Vietnamese language is not at all close to English.
No.
So trying to build a roster of Vietnamese players from your own region will be difficult. So then you're trying to get your Vietnamese player to learn English, and that is going to be a tall task. As I don't think English is one of the big languages in Vietnam either. So again, the English-speaking minor regions, OCE, still will get repeatedly pilfered, and PCS, because of a lot of other regions importing Chinese players, that will also get taken a look at as well.
And the importation of Korean players. I mean, over on Isurus, we've got two, both our top and our support are from
Uh,
Korea, and you saw a lot actually with
Kestrel too, right? With
Yes,
Yes,
with
got three.
Kestrel as
Miru
well.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
they
a
had
lot
to.
of imported players, and it was a really interesting situation actually, where you ended up seeing a lot of synergy between the two players on the rosters who were from the same country,
Yep.
and so you can
Yep.
see there's still that kind of language barrier where, sure, they're not speaking Korean to each other during the game, but outside of the game, being able to talk about the meta, talk about what you want to do fluently in your own language
Yep.
is a lot easier. And if these rules are removed, all of a sudden you could see a lot more importation of players as well as taking them away from their native regions into the major regions.
I think that the player that comes to my mind as well. I'm not fully up to knowledge on the situation, but as far as minor regions moving to major regions was Levi, from the VCS, right? He joined
Yeah.
100 Thieves Academy, I think, for
Mm.
2 splits, I think, and then went back to GAM. Is that right?
Yeah, he went back
Yeah,
to
he's a gamma right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
So that was an interesting situation there. I feel like he was. This was off the back of the insane Gigabyte Marines
Nocturne,
run
baby.
with the like the super early Nocturne level 6.
Yeah.
With the bottom
He actually
side.
spent a split on Jingdong after.
He did,
100
didn't
Thieves.
he?
I forgot
Yeah.
about that. Gee,
It was
okay.
JDG, and like, how did that? I seem to remember it was he didn't get a lot of play time from what I remember.
I don't believe he got much play time. But the LPL was, of course, this is the region that have SFM. So he is a Vietnamese jungler. So
Right, makes
I
sense.
imagine that they were able to ask like Suning, hey, what did you guys do to help facilitate your jungler coming over? And they tried to make it work.
Who was it on the Mad Lions roster who smashed Mad Lions at Worlds and then they picked them up?
Uh,
Istanbul
Armor-
Wildcats.
Armor.
Armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was Army,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
that's why
actually
we
gonna
thought
bring
LA
that
was
up.
NA was picking
Yeah.
up.
What are the chances that Istanbul Wildcats take out Mad Lions to play out players once again?
That would be
Oh, that would be
And
amazing.
then
That'd be
next time
storyline
around, Mad
there.
Lions rock
Oh.
up in EU just with the full Istanbul Wildcats roster.
Yeah,
Like, nope,
it's-
we're not doing
Yeah,
it.
it's just
Well,
like
there are-
Armor is being replaced by the latest model. It's like
Yeah.
poor guy.
Like, I feel like this year, whilst I personally don't know if everyone else will agree with this, my current feeling is that the divide, at least at the highest level between the East and the West, is larger than is pretty large. I'm certainly thinking it's more Eastern favored. I'm really excited for the storylines we have going on this year. I think that this year there's a lot of really cool matchups that are going on between the teams, both in play-ins and actually in the main stage.
Yeah.
I think there's some really cool stuff to look forward to for anyone who's sort of a just an outside fan, not rooting for an actual team in particular. I think it's a really cool year this year, and I really hope that the teams are able to perform at a relatively solid level and give us some really good games, because there is a lot of potential this year for there to be some bangers.
I think for the first time in a while, on that note, it doesn't feel like there's even a dark horse
Yeah.
really out of EU or NA to make a deep run.
Rogue,
G2 had some Rogue, I think possibly are a decent shout at that. But you're like, but when you're looking then at the likes of, I think the top 4 teams in the world coming in, it's like it's pretty clearly Gen G, Top Esports, JDG, plus another. Put T1 in there, maybe put someone like EDG in there, maybe.
RNG
Uh,
out of play-ins also a just ridiculous roster. Like,
So
yeah,
the-
I mean,
Yeah,
I will say I will be interested to see how RNG do, because I don't know how many people followed the LPL playoffs particularly, but they did not look comfortable in the LPL playoffs at all.
It's
And
a
there's a re-
Kaisa meta.
True.
I'd be curious to see how much of a Kaisa
Is
meta
it?
it is,
Yeah.
because like there's been some rumors, but I've also seen some people saying like, no, it's awful because Kalista and
So-
Draven are murdering Kaisa.
I also feel
So-
like, at least from my perspective, I feel like you
Well,
also
nerf.
feel really awkward about playing Kaiser into Caitlyn, which is also something that is probably
It's also
not a
Gala though,
priority.
who plays Kaisa better than anybody
I
else
mean,
in
yeah,
the world.
for
He
sure,
plays
but-
Kaisa and Caitlyn.
For sure,
Yeah,
but I feel like
Armor
this.
is
I feel like the.
nauseating on
I
those
feel like the
champions.
meta this year, or at Worlds, isn't. People have ideas, right? But I'm not sure it's so fully defined in regards to the fact that whilst Enchanters have dropped down in priority, I still think there's a few of them that actually have good matchups into the engaged supports that people are saying is now good. So I wouldn't be surprised to see no Enchanters. So I think support metrics can be super interesting. But the AD carry meta is in a state where I think basically almost every champion is playable. There's like a couple that you would say are not like amazing, but they all feel pretty all right, except maybe like Xayah, which feels a bit meh, but it's still playable.
So, like, I'll put this one on the enchanters. I'm curious to see what Nightstar thinks. I saw his finger go up as well.
Hmm.
There are certain enchanters that feel very good right now, and they are Yumi, Soraka, and Seraphine are all very playable in bot lane right now.
I think you can add
Particularly
Lulu
with
to
the
that
right
list as
matchups.
well, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Lulu just
sort
took
of,
a bit of a break.
Lulu's kind of there, particularly like Aphelios as a counter into things like the Lucian Nami, because Lucian dashes forward and you polymorph him and he goes, oh, fuck, and dies. Like, yeah, exactly. It's like, I've been polymorph mid-culling. This is not what I wanted. And like, it's like, there's ways to play that particular name where, but like, you have Lucian Nami as kind of its own thing, but Nami works with that one as a very special bit of synergy. So there are
it's
some
been nerfed
enchanters
as well.
around,
Yeah,
but it's
Nami
but
no
it's
longer
very
works that way.
specific. It's very specific bits with the enchanters. But like it's more the healers than anything else. That's pretty strong, especially with things like Aatrox, Olaf, Wukong.
The
around, like,
sustained
some-
comps.
Yeah, sustain comps exactly. So it's not just the bot lane; it's the team comps. But you're right. Some more of the engages are kind of creeping back in a little bit. But I'd be curious to see. I saw Nightstar's finger go up, so I think he might have some other thinkings on this one as well.
Well, I mean, Maokai, I think will be a big player.
Fair.
But I was going to ask, what's going to be one of those overpowered picks that's not going to see play? Because we had
Oh.
the situation like 2 years ago with Echo, right? We were so set
Yeah.
on Echo just coming in and absolutely demolishing and defining the meta, and then he saw like two play-in games and was never seen again.
So I think we need to look at what we think is what we think is OP right now, right? In terms of that, to figure out which ones.
Hecarim.
Yeah,
won't
a-
actually
and
follow.
the-
Ephraim
I
is
mean, the clear
mad.
one is also like Fiddlesticks, because we've constantly just said Fiddlesticks is just giga busted, but no one's actually willing to play it, so that doesn't actually count, right?
So I think what I will say the huge potential word for this to happen. I think Evil Genius could do it because Inspired is one of the few junglers who has been
Yep.
willing to pull out
Yes.
Fiddlesticks in the past,
He's
and he
been
knows
an
how to
AP
use
player.
that. So yeah, I
Inspired's
think he
also
might.
banging on the Hecarim as well. Inspired's in a really good spot.
I think like your Group A is going to be really interesting on that front because I think between Razok, Inspired, Steel, a few of these other junglers, like you go, "Ooh, that should be pretty fun if some of these guys have got some stuff to work with." But I think I think Fiddlesticks is a good
sure.
shout, but I feel Inspired might be the guy to do it anyway.
Initialize. Do you remember? I think it was one game over in LEC when I believe it was Inspired on the Fiddlesticks, and he got that really good ult over a wall. I'm
I
trying to
remember the
remember
medic call.
What game was that? Was that playoffs?
It was Crow Storm. It's a murder. That was the line. I remember that. It's like Oh, I'm gonna Google. The thing is, I'm such a play-by-play. I remember the call and the play, but I can't remember who on earth it was against.
In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, can I interest you in my copium? In my pick that I know no one will play, but I still think it's fantastic. It's Kindred. Can we get some Kindred games?
Kindred
I love
will
this
pop
champion
up.
so much.
People pick up Kindred when they've had their champion pool squeezed and they're quite good at it, and you're needing that little bit of extra AD damage and that little bit of extra AD carry when perhaps you're playing something a little bit different. And with engage supports coming into the bot lane, maybe you see some players, especially in play-ins, pulling out something a little bit wild, maybe an enchanter plus a sort of maybe a mage, or maybe like a Yasuo plus an engaged support down in the bottom lane, and then you need that sustained damage. I can see the Kindred coming in. I don't think it will be completely busted though.
Wasn't it
Yes. What game was
Piosic?
it?
Yeah,
played it
Piosic
as
Piosic,
well?
Piosic's a
Piosic,
big
yeah.
Kindred
Piosic,
player.
yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, he named himself after Kindred, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
No.
Um,
Well,
yeah, it was Misfits by the by. Was who the
Misfits.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Maybe they
Blab
must
was
have
also a
guessed.
big Kindred player, and obviously we know the zillion Kindred combo C9 have run of years past. That might be a thing
Yes.
to do again. So I think there's some well but Kindred scene a little bit.
I believe we call that Legends Never Die. I believe it's a term for that combo. But that's
They
that's
just
my
become a
interpretation
mark
of it.
for you. There you go.
There you go. There is one more thing in the meta that I'm a bit interested in from each of you guys in your regions. How has the interest in AD mids been? Because I feel like the jungle pool has mostly become very physical based. I mean, in my brain, I remember there was at the start it was like everyone was going Wukong hype train, Wukong hype train, and then people started playing Poppy into it. They played Trundle and Vi, I think.
Never with the Wukong.
Yeah.
And then we played. Now we're obviously onto the Hecarim train. I know some people have been playing Graves and in sort of solo queue that's been rising, as well as Xin Zhao in some when the pool goes a bit down. But I haven't heard a lot about. Even Nocturne's been appeared. I haven't heard a lot about AP junglers except maybe Volibear on occasion and Lilia / Diana if it's got a good pairing. I haven't heard a lot about the AP jungle side of things.
AP junglers are kind of not great right now. Still,
If the fiddle gets
Fiddlesticks
played,
is-
there's one.
Yeah, Fiddlestick,
True.
but again, it's such a hard one to do.
Karthus.
You can do Karthus. Certain people will do that. I mean, we've got Levy,
Almontia,
they got Levi
Cannon.
coming in. Yeah. But like, I think partly because things like Azir and Victor are so good in the mid lane right now, you don't want an AD mid laner. You want an AP mid laner. That means you really want an AD
Control
jungler.
mage.
Yep. So you're like, you are looking at things like Hecarim, Wukong, really powerful at level 6. That's great for the Herald fights when other people have suddenly got ultimates, which is wonderful.
I mean, it's Road Patch, Lee Sin.
Yeah, Lee
He's back
Sin,
again.
but
Yeah.
exactly. Vi's still good, but again, these are all kind of CC engaged level 6 bruiser AD champions, and the items are just better for them. You feel pretty sad as an AP jungler right now, and I'm an Evelyn main. Plus, honestly, it's the aftershocks of the durability patch. It just murdered AP junglers. Like Diana's not good
Yeah.
enough anymore because you don't kill anybody with the combo. Evelyn struggles in comp play because you don't kill anybody quick enough. So unless you're a sustain AP jungler, not that many of them. Karthus.
Karthus, yeah.
Leah
That's the
found
one I can
some
think of.
success. We saw her in a lot of different
lane.
lanes, but
Top lane. Yeah.
I mean, she was originally supposed to be one of the answers to Wukong. She outfarms Wukong. She's faster. She can deny the
Yeah.
engage. But realistically, she's punishable in the jungle.
and the engage is too good on Wukong. Like it's
Yeah,
so
Wukong
good. It's so
just does-
slippery.
It's really,
more,
really simple.
so-
Yeah. Wukong.
Yeah,
is just too
unfortunately, Lilia, I
simplistic.
don't think we're going to see her in the jungle. If we do, I suspect she's more of a flex where a team wants to run her either top or jungle, and they're going to pick her so that if there's a bad matchup, they'll flex her to jungle. But I
DFM?
don't think she's like high up in terms of.
Yeah,
maybe
Steel was a
could
big
do it.
Lilia player,
Yeah.
but I think Ebby's the one who's been picking it, and he's been just like
Yeah.
specifically into anybody who dares pick something like Ornn. He goes, "Well, I get to scale for free," and then we have Lilia, who's just bloody obnoxious. So like,
Why is she so
yeah,
fast?
Oh,
Bambi!
Spoots that
Bambi.
mentions Elise, and we have seen
Oh
a couple of Elises show
no!
up.
Oh, he
So
finally said it, did he?
yeah. But
Oh,
I
dear.
actually do think Elise, if we're talking AP junglers, if you do absolutely want to run an AD mid, like one of those weird pocket pick Zeds that we've seen show up at Worlds occasionally or MSI, if you've got a Yasuo that you want to run with the composition, I don't think that Elise is a bad pickup necessarily. I do think she and Karthus are probably the only two AP junglers who I think have a shot. Well, let's add Lily in there because maybe as a flex pick. Those three I think are the only viable APs right now.
I'll
And there's
also
just
add.
not been any interest in the AD mid laners. Certainly not in the LLA, which is the main region I can
Yeah.
speak for. None at all. Saya specifically didn't pick up a single one during the playoffs. Just there was no appetite for it. Nobody against them either. It was just all the AP control mages, as was said. And like initially I said, when they're so good, why would you try to take your control mage out of the mid lane?
So,
The
CB
one
Lol
exempt. I'd say
might
Yone's
throw
been
in a
around a
Nidalee.
little bit. Yone's the one little bit. Oh, did you say Nidalee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We played a
Croc
little
has
bit
a
of
really
Yone's too.
strong Nidalee that he likes to pull up from time to time. But I think in the current meta, if we do see that Nidalee pop up, it's more of a like Loud is struggling and they're going back to comfort picks, and we see Croc back on his Nidalee. The other AP jungler CB Lol pulls out, which we will not see here. Croc does not play it, is Rumble Jungle, and that is more just a holdover from old days. Certain junglers didn't adapt well, and so when they get desperate, they go to Rumble Jungle. But I don't think that's a viable pick right now.
Could be something that pops up if you play a lot of Renekton up in the top lane, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying as well. And I think Renekton is back a bit, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, he feels a lot
We'll see
better to
Renekton
play.
in the mid lane too in certain matchups.
Yeah.
So
Maokai got buffed. I see somebody in chat, Gizmo.
Yeah,
Yep,
you could
as well.
Maokai. You can Maokai jungle, actually, just about. So, yeah,
Yeah.
there is a
Maokai is
sort of-
possible to see in
That's
3
fair.
lanes currently in the support jungle
is
and
that
top
what you
lane.
guys picked for the flex one in Pick'ems?
I took Seraphine because
took
I feel Saigon
Karma.
Buffalo are going to go Seraphine mid at some point, and someone's going to play at ADC with
I
Senna.
think I put.
I mean,
Trundle
that's
for that
just
one.
yeah. Does Flex consider between support and AD? What does it count as with like Seraphine and stuff? Because that'll be a question mark.
It
So,
should
yeah,
be
if
if
that counts. Then
the
yeah.
player themselves.
Yeah, I think that'd be a
play it,
good way
I
to do it.
reckon.
Possibly a Tom Kench then might end up in both roles. That one was the hardest because there's few flex picks at the moment, and then you're looking for that champion that's played in 2 roles and then maybe has a third.
And
I
doesn't
know.
get banned all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
know
think
what?
any of the prior
Because
bands
the
are
ban
like
bit is
big flex
important.
picks, except for maybe the Maokai now.
How much time do we have left here? Do we have a time? Because we could just talk about.
We
our
can do a
Pick'ems.
lot here.
Yeah.
I am free, but I do need to go to the toilet. So if you give me like 5 seconds while you discuss it, then
All
I'm
right,
down for that.
Recollect is off to the bathroom, and we will talk about Pick'ems, which
Go for
Yeah.
it.
everyone probably
Right,
may
let's
Okay,
grab
know.
it then.
let me get my pick'ems up.
Yeah,
We'll give a
Pick'ems, grabbing
second.
time.
I'm taking over as host.
Okay.
Okay.
We're taking over. No. Recollect did a fantastic job hosting.
He was telling
Big
us before
claps.
how he doesn't
Thank
know
you.
how to host. He was lying
Yeah,
very
very well.
clearly.
What was the team that you guys had reoccurring in your pick'ems? For me, I had literally all RNG players for the players section. And RNG showed up quite often in my team section as well. I have them winning worlds.
Ooh.
RNG winning worlds.
Wow.
Okay.
So
You
I-
reckon? Do you think the
You
meta's
believe
good
in
enough for them?
RNGesus.
I
I
was
think-
about. Oh, sorry, go on, Oyster.
I think the meta fits them well enough. Breathe has a huge champion pool. And when it comes to veterancy, they are incredibly stable, which I cannot say the same for. I think a lot of fan favorite picks will be top esports, but while they are flashy, they are also extremely volatile, as
And hey,
anyone who
we've
saw their
seen
playoffs.
teams.
My
We've
one
seen
thing for
teams
top.
run through from the bottom of
Yeah.
play-ins all the way through, getting that momentum up, being allowed to experiment versus potentially lesser teams. Can happen.
Yeah, what I'll say, I'll throw this one out as well. Like, I'll say that the meta has shifted more towards actual lane dominance, and that really favors top because actually you are not waiting for 3, 4 items in your AD carry. You're waiting for 2 or 1. There's a reason things like Kalista, Draven, Caitlyn, Aphelios, even who does like his 2 items, right, are much more viable now. Even things like control mages are actually pretty good at 2 items, particularly the Victor and the Azir are quite good at that point. And I think that's actually really good for top.
Double pen.
Because they can play towards those kind of slightly more aggressive earlier plays and snowball harder as they've done. I think it's also really good for Gen.G because Chovy gets to play control mages and that in team fights no less.
Yeah.
That is just terrifying for anybody out there. Chovy has weaknesses as a player. This is not a meta where he has weaknesses in that sense. I think he gets to play exactly as to how Chovy wants to play. And for me, Gen.G are real pleased with the fact that these things are happening right now.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Gen.G's actually got a really good shot, especially with a lot of the way meta is sort of changing there. I still think the LPL as a region is probably the strongest region, but I think Gen.G as a team have one of the best shots right now, winning it all.
Sorry, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm filling these in really quick so that I can like
Oh,
I
there we
I
You
did
haven't done
like
your pick'ems yet?
so I did four of the 20, and I was like, I'll do the rest of them later because I need to think about it more.
Well,
So
now
the-
you can do it live.
Oh, I am.
What do
True,
you
yeah.
guys pick for who's winning? I
I've
already
done it, yeah.
mentioned I'm picking RNG.
Let me have a look
Full
at the
disclosure, I'm doing my
SKT1.
pick'ems as we're speaking. So.
Yeah, okay,
Oh,
we're
okay.
doing the same
Oh,
thing.
okay.
So come
I've
to
got
me in like 2
JDG.
minutes.
Yeah. How
Big
about
dog.
you? Tell you
JDG,
what,
but yeah.
I will deafen myself so I don't cheat, and then once it's done, I'll undeafen and then I'll join the conversation. That's
Excellent.
how I'll do this. To be fair.
Excellent. So my reasoning behind not picking Jingdong or Gen.G was the fact that favorites
Never
have traditionally stumbled. So if you are the leading candidate to win worlds, I'm not touching you.
That's
That's fair.
reasonable. That's actually really reasonable.
I mean, tracking
Yeah.
it back through previous worlds, that's absolutely the correct way to go.
Yeah, and the reason why SKT were the ones to win when they were favored was because they were light years away of everyone else, right? Where it wasn't even close who was second best. We made a case, of course, for Starhorn Royal Club at the time, but even then, when they went toe to toe, they still were their understanding of the game just wasn't quite there. So
Who
I think
who was favorite in 20? Was it 2020 when Damwon won?
let me pull up. 2020.
So I remember FPX not being favorites exactly in 20.
I believe it's
Were they even
Top
in?
Esports.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. That's when Fnatic almost 3-0'd them, wasn't it?
Trying to remember here. Wait, where is the rosters I can pull up? Main event rosters. Yeah, this was Top Esports were in there.
Nautilus has multiple of those picks, Milky.
Yes. I mean, LPL teams like to play Nautilus, and Nautilus is a very popular support. So I reckon it's going to be picked a lot because no one bans it. And then it's Nautilus, it's an engaged support, so it's going to be dying a lot because it's going to be getting picked a lot and in the support role. So
Yeah, for sure Nautilus has to be the most deaths. Because teams will pick it because they're lacking engage, and even when he's winning, he still sprints it down because he's Nautilus.
I almost put Leona, or I was thinking about Alistair, but I just thought Nautilus is going to get picked more and die more.
Being
I
swayed
actually
here.
put Leona. I went for Leona. I'll stick with
Yeah.
that. I did think about Nautilus, but I think people have been favoring Leona as an engage option a little bit more recently.
Okay. So have you
I
done
think I'll go
Leona
on.
for both of them, like me, or just Leona one?
So what's this? So what's the other one?
So it's most picked and most deaths.
Oh, most picked. I've actually gone for Aphelios because I think it's always an AD carry. I think AD
Yeah.
carry pool doesn't get pinched quite as often. I think Draven, Callista are more likely to hit the ban table. I think Aphelios slips more regularly, and it's a safer pick that people know how to play. So I've gone for Aphelios.
Yeah, I went for MF because of the same reasoning.
Okay.
MF's not a bad shout. I just think Aphelios is people are more comfortable on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a bit more versatile
Yeah.
in play style.
Yep.
I went for Azir most banned because I think Azir right now is really
Mm.
high presence.
I almost
I
went for
certainly
Caitlyn.
Ari for most picked.
I think Ari's kind of fallen out of quite a few regions. Like she's safe, but I don't think
Yeah,
she's as
Ari's
high
fallen off a
priority
bit.
as she used to be.
Mhm.
She, unless you get kills early on, she falls off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
she
like
doesn't
Azir
have the
right now has
top.
higher presence than Ari does.
I've got
I
Yumi
picked.
for a couple because I just see I've got Yumi for most banned as well as highest
I
win
can see
rate
that.
because I see
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
being like
Yep.
absolutely not
Yep.
with the Yumi, getting rid of her, and then the only times that she slips through is a terrible decision by the opposition, and she ends up picking up a lot of wins that way.
I
Fair
feel
enough.
like
I'm really high
sorry.
on Caitlyn right now, so I put Caitlyn as like most banned because I feel like
Yeah, I
I
picked
I have
her
flashbacks
as
to
well.
like previous worlds, yeah. Where it's
Uh,
like when
it-
Caitlyn's strong, she's just brokenly strong.
And also, it's just absolutely pretty much like 100% ban on CQ, I think, right now. So,
Yeah, pretty much.
if that's a trend, it just prevents you from really playing the game bot lane, and it forces you to just constantly bring more and more attention down there.
Yeah, and these teams know how to play with a strong bot lane. Like, so pretty much all the teams at Worlds right now know what to do with a snowballing bot lane. If you thought Kalista was bad, I think Caitlyn's like 10 times worse.
I was also thinking for highest win rate champs. I was thinking it's probably not going to be like one of the OP champs. It's going to be like one of those fringe picks that
Oh, that's
gets
true.
picked a few times. I was actually leaning towards Jace a bit just because I was thinking Korean teams going to be picking Jace or Chinese top lane.
You mean
Zayus
like
has
one
completely
dude
given
who
up on
loves
it,
their
though.
champion, only picks it when they think they're going to win, smashes with it, and then it gets banned for the rest, so it ends up with a 100% win rate off of like 2 games?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
that's
question is,
fair.
does he get picked 5 times over Worlds?
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna see enough play for that to happen.
That's true. I honestly didn't know who would have highest win rate because like what you guys mentioned, so I just went with all the OPs. I put Hecarim for now, but yeah, I don't think that's gonna be right. I think
It's-
Hecarim's gonna be played too
It's
much.
the
for it to
it's the
have
RNG
100%.
pick, isn't it? Right? Or
The
not as
RNG
in,
pick,
not,
yeah,
not
Breathe
as
is
in
going to
the
play
team.
Fiora, and he's
Not
going
as
to
in the
hard
team,
stomp
but just
all the
random.
play-in teams, and that's where the win rate's going to be.
Yeah,
That's not
the
unreasonable.
problem is that usually highest win rate is that one champion that only gets picked like 5 times.
Yeah, so
And
interesting. My highest win rate I think is Aatrox because I think Aatrox is going to get
That's what
banned a
I
lot, but I also think
Oh.
Aatrox has been
I think he's going to
really,
get picked a lot.
Yeah, I think he's gonna
really
get picked.
good.
I don't know if he's gonna win.
So I actually think he's going to get banned a fair amount. So I think when he does get through, he's going to do very, very well. And there haven't been very many successful answers into Aatrox right now. You can do Fiora, but you have to be really good at him. And you also look at a lot of the top laners coming into Worlds, and you go, "Yep, they're all really happy on Aatrox." Even even in players like a Group A, Impact, one of the best Aatroxes right out there. Wonder made his name on an Aatrox. Was definitely for and against Aatrox a long time ago. Ebby's big
I
Aatrox
think,
player. I think it's a definite world where you give this up to the wrong people and you end up with a very high win rate.
I
On that
think
champion.
all the Eastern top laners are going to be playing Fiora Camille
Fiora,
into it,
yeah, I
and really
agree.
just dumpstering it,
Yeah.
and that's the
I-
issue.
Yes, but I also think that the game has people have been more willing to A, put attention towards the top side, and B, skirmish a bit more. So I think where people will pick Fiora into it, I don't think it will be. I think people also want to pick it as much. So I think you'll see like 369 all pick the Aatrox and do really well with it. So I think while it will be a counter pick option, I think I see your point. I still think that enough of the Eastern players will play it as well. The win rate should still be pretty high.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards what Bloxer was saying about the Yumi. I think for highest
That's
win
fair.
rate.
That's
Like I think Yumi.
Yeah,
is
I
just
can
one of
see
those
that.
Picks that's like it's a win
I-
harder pick. So
Yeah, I was tempted, honestly. Tempted, and this was not fully my idea. I hadn't really thought about it until I talked with another friend who said that they'd put Yumi for everything but most deaths and most picked. Those first 3 had Yumi for all of them, simply because Yumi is just one of those picks where when it's good in the meta, you will ban it, you will pick it, it will have a ridiculously high win rate, and nobody wants to touch it, especially the most banned. Like, the ability of Yumi to just sway a game that you think you're winning, all of a sudden the Yumi comes online and now you can't touch their main carry, or if you're winning, it's a win harder champion, like was said, and it's just one of those picks that's incredibly annoying to deal with. So definitely most banned for me, but I could see it being most picked and highest win rate too.
So
Yeah, what are the chances we end up seeing enough Soraka? Because that's one of the big counter picks
Yeah,
into
I
her.
think
And it just kind of steamrolls the matchup, or a Seraphine, right?
I will also
But
yeah,
Seraphine
I-
we'll see play at other roles
Yeah,
that I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's not going to be a high enough win rate. So it
I
really
actually
just
don't
boils
think
down to Soraka.
Seraphine, like, its support is any good. I think Seraphine AD carry is way better.
Yeah,
if they're gonna
it's
do
much
it.
better. I agree. I completely agree. I will also throw out, I think Yumi, the champions she used to be super busted on, are not as good as they were. Sivers, the one kind of remaining holdout that's still good.
What are you talking about?
Zeri's-
Garen's still OP. Never nerfed.
Oh, yep, Garen.
Sure.
It's time. All right.
But there's
He's
no
too
Reckless at
good.
Worlds, so
I mean,
Ah.
Veigar V2 brought it up, and he is the coach of C9.
Oh boy.
Are you
Blabber,
ready for
are you ready?
Berserker to pop up
no.
on
Oh,
Garen?
No.
Yo,
No,
can you
no,
imagine
no, no,
Garen
no.
Yumi into a Caitlyn bot lane? Just run around that Caitlyn over and over again?
Just throw a trap down and run away.
It's
You know,
literally
if we
out
get Garen
mechanics.
Yumi, I'm blaming you guys for it.
So,
You've
yeah.
got
I'll take blame for that, man.
out-mechanics.
I think that's solid. Like,
I've gone for you. I think I went for. So I originally had Azir for most banned. I've thrown Yumi in there as well for the discussions because I think Azir's
Yeah.
highest presence, but I think he gets through enough. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I think he's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
pick all
absolutely.
feel
banned.
like they have counters to it, and then versus those top Chinese teams, they don't, but they still feel like they do, and so it slips through often enough.
I think people also feel that Azir's not that bad to deal with. If you know what I mean. I feel like I can play into
Yeah.
it in laning phase.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
like
problem
you
is he's
can
like.
He then
you-
shuffles
you
all
can
of you.
deal with him, right?
Yeah.
Theoretically, you can either outrange him, you can play other control mages as well
Yeah,
that can
like I'll
deal
play
with
Victor.
him.
This will be fine.
Yeah.
he's just
Exactly,
not
we'll
best in
trade.
class in any one category. So everybody's
Well,
like,
that's
Yeah,
just
but
it.
he's
I
really
think if one of us-
versatile.
think for-
Exactly, yeah.
I think the thing is for certain people he really is though, because I'm looking at like Faker, Chovy, Yagao, Knight. You're giving these guys Azir, and you go, oh dear, that was a
Yep.
mistake. Larson, oh my god, Larson.
Yeah.
Like I think like
Wouldn't have done that.
Larson's going, ooh, Victor and Azir are in meta, wonderful, and like. They're the guys where you go, I do not give them this champion. I play something else, just not this matchup, please. Yeah. I'm curious.
Actually, the meta quite favors Rogue a lot because you've got comp in his Caitlyn as well, which is
Yeah, big Caitlyn player.
Mhm.
I mean,
Quite
he's
nice
a Callista Soraka aficionado. Remember, like he and Drimby have got some fun picks down
But
there.
guys, what about Singe?
Lehens will
Change.
pull it out.
Flex, yeah.
Lehens will pull it out.
What if
I
there's
like it.
5 games of Singe? Because
I-
Maokai in the top lane could mean you play Singe into it.
on
Now,
on
these
that
be
segue.
5
Has
head
anyone
strats.
has anyone not picked Lehens for who'll play the most different champions? At
I went for
Worlds?
Carrier.
I went for Carrier.
Ooh.
It
was
feels like
close.
it's one or the other. I did go with Lehens in the end, but originally I had Carrier.
I
I
half
picked
wondered
Breathe.
whether
I picked a top laner.
that's fair. I was wondering whether it be because my other thought was someone like Kanavi because he does things like the Belveth and the weird hyper carry junglers, which could be a bit odd. So he was another person who was like, I
Yeah.
wondered whether it be a top laner or
I
something
went
like
for
that.
top lane because they're going to get priority in a draft.
Counter picks. Yeah,
They
that's
get counter
true.
pick, and when you think about the most diverse amount of counter picks, that is top lane. So I went for Breathe because he also plays in play-in, so he gets the extra games.
True.
So I was like looking at full out stats for this, like looking at which
What were
players for
you?
each team have played the most diverse champions, and then I was thinking about play-ins as well, and I really wanted to pick Froggy, so the mid lane of Saigon Buffalo, the support, because they've actually
Yeah, yeah.
played like more than anyone
Wild
else
stuff, yeah.
apart from Targamas. But I'm so iffy on Saigon Buffalo if they're gonna make it out. Like
Yes,
I think
that
they
was my
will,
other
but it's
problem
like,
too.
do I risk it? Do I risk it?
That's like the biggest issue here is like for all of these, more than anything else, is sample size. Like the fact that
How many
it can be
games is that?
so inhibited for any of these stats based on how many games each team gets. Because I've heard some people saying that in terms of who will have the highest KDA, it's actually not a bad strat to just pick a team that isn't play-ins, will get out play-ins with a really good score, and then maybe doesn't get too far.
Gala!
Then you have a really good
Yeah,
KDA.
Gala.
Because obviously you smurf on the teams that are arguably not as they're not Gen G and they're not
Yeah.
they're the top Chinese teams.
I have 3
And-
Gala lock-ins.
Yeah, I went.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
debating between Ruler and Gala. I went with Ruler because I felt like Gala might just pick a champion and go a little ham and drop a couple kills here and there, but he'll go for it. But I went with Rulix. Thought he might just. I feel like the way Genji have been playing, they'll just keep him alive at all costs. So.
Mm. I
Yeah,
mean, with
Well,
the
that's a
highest
motivation.
KDA, I had upset. I'm gonna change it. I just realized I haven't changed that since we now know he might not be playing and might not
I
actually
mean,
get any
he's
games.
not going to get any
That
death.
might not.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's deathless.
But
you don't
he'll
get a
still
high
be
KD in
zero,
though.
But
Who did people
this
put
man,
for first bloods as well? That's a good. Sorry,
Oh,
Broxer.
God.
Go, 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 go.
Tell you what,
no,
guys,
just with upset. This occasionally when I talk about Fnatic players, I feel like a homer. But with upset and the KDA thing, if he was playing, I was 100% confident on this one. He just doesn't die. Even in games where they lose, he still has 1, maybe 2 deaths, and so
That's yeah,
it's a
not
shame to me
unreasonable.
that he's out. But maybe if he plays in one game, wins that one game, and has a really good KDA, maybe that counts.
how about we do a more in-depth visual representation of the pick'ems and do it one by one, and we can bring up what people have ended up going with. As I do believe we've got you bastard. Sorry, you.
I'll go last since I just made
So,
mine.
Yeah,
Nah.
fantastic, guys. I just made this, and I said, "Mate,
Okay.
can I go last, please? I just made this." Nah, I'm going first, apparently. So this is what I've gone with my pick'ems. As I said, I have speedrun it a bit. I'll go thought process. I thought Trundle was a really good selection here for the champion to be picked because I think it's one of the junglers that I don't think it will get banned in crazy amount, but it has a good matchup into most of the current jungle meta. So personally, I think this should be something that teams will be prioritizing. Whether they actually will or not, it remains to be seen. But I think it's something that maybe won't be number one, but I think it will be up there. So I'm gonna put it in there as a niche one that I don't think everyone else will go with, but I think it's in the running. For the most banned, I've got Caitlyn. I think the meta will be warped around her. So I think it's something that will inevitably start pulling bans. Again, I'm not certain on the most banned champion, so I'm going with Caitlyn. I think it was a safe sort of top 5 pick, and I'm going to slide it in there. Jax, I think is really interesting because I think that everyone's talking about that there is a bit of a rise in split push top laners. I think Fiora has come to prominence. I think Camille to extent has been there. I think that into a lot of these matchups where you want to stomp lane, I think Jax is a super good pick. I think that a lot of the good Chinese top laners have a good Jax. I think Flandre is someone who is known for the Jax, I believe. So I think it's something that won't be picked a lot, but is likely going to win games because the people that play it are monsters. So that's my take on that. Maokai is the only thing I can think of that can play in multiple lanes because I'm dumb. Nautilus is an engaged support, and I think generally engaged supports have a lot of deaths, so that's in there. Real simple on those two. Does anyone have any comments on those so far, by the way, or is that
They all feel pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
I think was debating actually Wukong over Tron because I think people have really, really rated the Engage because Engage has been a little hard to come by in certain roles, especially if you are thinking about enchanters and stuff. So I think the Wukong or something like the Hecarim goes pretty high in value, but I think Trundle's not a bad shout.
Well, the issue I had with Hecarim is I thought it would get banned a lot, so I
Yeah,
didn't want it.
that's
I didn't think it
completely
would slide into the pick section, and I also felt like if people are playing Wukong, most people are happy to play Trundle into it. So in my brain, it was like
They'll go
people are going to
1-for-1.
want to play Poppy. Oh, well, we'll just play Trundle. Oh, people want to play Vi. Oh, we'll just play Trundle into it and be fine. That's kind of where I was going with that. I can definitely see a world where Wukong is picked more, though. I can see that happening for sure.
I think Jax is just going to be played too much to have the highest win rate.
Okay.
That's really the only thing that stands out. Like Jax, a lot of these Eastern top laners are willing to blind pick it, and if you're blinds picking a top laner, it's hard to have the best win rate.
That's fair. I can respect that. Now the one that everyone's going to laugh at, highest KDA, I went with Chovy, and the reason for that
player
is historically Chovy is a guy who has had really good KDAs in general. I think he had an okay performance sort of so far. I think this year he's looked pretty all right. I can understand why people might go with some of the other RNG players instead, perhaps, as previously stated, for the whole running through the gauntlet and racking those numbers up. But for me, I wonder if they'll get enough value, should we say, when if they are able to enter into the groups. I also think that Chovy is someone who consistently performs. So again, this is an outside bet. I can definitely see a world where this isn't right, but I wanted to go with it anyway because I'm a Korean enjoyer, and of course I have to rep my favorite region in the major regions. And then Lahens, I think discussed, Lahen's carry is like a toss-up for who will have the highest pool. The Cinch is there. A couple others, but yeah, he's always been historically known for having insane champs. Jackie Love is a psychopath, and sometimes you get rewarded. So Pentakill, if anyone's gonna get one, it's like Gala or Jackie or Viper in my brain. So I'm gonna go with Jackie because he's an absolute psychopath and I love it. First Bloods, I was torn on if I should go with like Tien or if I should go with Kanavi. I went with Kanavi instead because I think Kanavi Yagao is consistently a really strong point for this team. So I'm going to go with Kanavi. And Viper, I think, is just a monster. So I think he'll get a
reasonable.
There's not a lot of justification on that one. I think he's just a beast. Yeah, and anything on those, as I say, Chovy I'm expecting could be wrong, but the others I think are fairly okay.
Yeah, I think most kills is a hard one to call. I think Viper's not unreasonable. I do think that I will be interested to see how Viper does at this tournament because I know Doinby put this one out. He says he's a little bit worried for Viper because a lot of the champions he's putting a lot of time into this year have all been nerfed. Every single one of the champions he's prioritized have been nerfed. That's not necessarily a bad thing because Viper's really good. But it will be interesting to see what form he comes in on. Is he best in the world or just good?
Now, the hardest one of the set is who will win Worlds in my head. I went with Gen.G just because to say Korean and Joy. They're the most likely Korean team to win it, so there is a lot of bias on this one. I honestly think that China is stronger right now, and I do expect the Chinese team to win it, but I have to go with my heart to an extent, and because of that, I'm going to stick with Gen.G, and I'm going to just hope that they can, they are a strong team. I think it is an upset if they win Worlds, but I still want to go with them anyway. I think that I've been tempted by Mr. Star to tell me that Beyond Gaming is the best, so Beyond Gaming it is.
Let's go.
Also, just to say fuck loud, because of that statement that was made earlier. We rep it, we protect it. No one is an easy win, not even Isurus in these groups. And then obviously RNG, I think is I'd be shocked if anyone doesn't have RNG in first for Group B, to be honest with you. I think that is, in my opinion, the most likely of outcomes for any of these, is that RNG probably wins. Maybe they get cocky and they come second, but I don't see them not making it out of groups, so I think it's a shoo-in. Went with Gum because they're already out of play-ins, which is obviously not going to be true for every single team on the list. I think being out of groups gives you such a big advantage that when we're looking at Garm versus Flying Oysters, it was a toss-up. I kind of wanted to go with Flying Oysters because I prefer the name, but that's all I've got. I don't know the team well enough. And it is one of those cases where I think
One of us.
I might change it later. But honestly, for me,
No.
it's I don't think that any team will make it further than either Garm or Flying Oysters does because of the groups, the way that they're set up. I think if anyone is going to make it further, it is going to be someone in that group, in Group D, I believe it is. If you're going to make it out of the group stage, you have to be in this group, and in my eyes, that means that it's one of those two teams. So, my take on that. And then finally, the team to play the most champions. I think you've got Lahens on your team. You've got Chovy. That's enough of a reason for me to go with Gen.G again. But yeah, I think that's one more set. Oh, this is just the RNG questions. This is bull. I hate the fact these are options.
This is the for fun ones.
Yeah, this is one where
Yeah.
it's really like there's nothing I can do. Reverse sweeps are rare, so I'm gonna go with one because I think it will happen. But that's about as far as I'm going with that. Pentakills, I was stuck between 1 or 2. I went with 2 because it's more hype, but I expect it to probably be 1. There's usually not a whole lot of Pentakills, but if they are, it's usually 1 in play-ins, and then there's 1 in the main stage. When you have RNG taking on arguably some teams they should be beating, I think that you see at least 1 Pentakill. I think that less than that is unexpected, and I think that we get 1 more during the main stage. Game time, we have Isurus. No, I think so. This is a really hard question because I think the general game time is probably around in the 30-minute mark, but I think there's one game that goes into 40 minutes. The question to me is, does it go plus 40 minutes? I don't know. I think it's either in that the one below this, which is the 45 to 50 threshold, or it's this one. I hope I'm wrong, but I have a feeling I'm right. And I'm just going with gut. I want Baron Steel, so we got 3 to 5, and then I think the teams will prioritize Hexatake because it's the most broken Drake, and it's got a really good soul as well, which I think is the most broken soul, which makes me think people will prioritize it more, even if it means delaying games so they can get more of them. So that's why I went Hexatake. But that's my pick'ems, the whole lot. They may be subject to change, but that's what I'm going with right now. When I've had 5 minutes to make them. Boom. Done. So.
Boom.
Dab. There you go.
Was stretched on camera. Hi guys, sorry about that. It was a required net crack.
Oh, don't worry. We've been here for
We didn't
several
get to
hours.
hear it though.
I'm surprised actually. It was pretty loud over my end. Sorry about that.
My neck, my back.
Possibly
all the
not a
body.
bad thing for the listeners, so actually I won't apologize. Be grateful.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I guess we will go from left to right now. That oh no, we're not. I think
No.
Milky's next, Steve, right?
Go.
Yeah,
I'm
No,
the
okay.
cereal man.
I've
Do
got
it.
some
The-
terrible
I was gonna-
pickings to
Let's
run
do it.
everyone through. Right, so as I mentioned, Nautilus is going to get picked a lot because every single support in the entire world plays Nautilus, and for some reason they don't want to play any other support other than Nautilus is going to get picked. Most banned Kalista. I've actually switched that over to Yuumi because Bloxer put up some very good arguments for it. So I like the Yuumi. Bloxer, if it turns out to be Kalista, I'm going to be very, very upset now. Highest win rate champion Aatrox. To be honest, it's kind of just random. I think it's probably going to be a more fringe champ. I think Aatrox is too much of a meta pick, and I think it's going to be picked by winning and losing teams. Same for every champion, really. It's so hard to decide. So I've just gone with Aatrox. Played in most different roles. Seraphine is going to get played mid. I'm fairly confident of that. Froggy's going to do it for Saigon Buffalo, and then it's going to get played support and ADC. So it's the only champion that I'm relatively confident will get played in 3 roles. So that's what I've gone for. Most deaths, Nautilus. We've mentioned it. He's an inting champion. Right. So on to players. Right. This is where things get spicy because I know very little about LPL and LCK because I don't watch them. So I opened up Leaguepedia and looked up team stats, and I compared statistics to determine all of this stuff. So I was thinking about Gala or going for Ruler or Viper for highest KDA, but I decided, nah, Chovy's a chill guy, right? Chovy don't die. So he's going to have a high KDA, even if Gen G lose some games, he's going to be the player with the highest KDA. Most different champs at Worlds, I've gone for Lehends. I would have gone for Keria, but I am very sure that Gen G are going to go further in the tournament than T1, which will give Lehends more opportunities to pick different champions. If I was doing it by like who will pick more different champions per game, then I would have picked Targamas or Taki. So Taki being the support for Saigon Buffalo. 1 pentakill Gala because RNG have this terrible water team called Isurus existing. So easy pentakill for Gala, right?
Yeah, you're right. Easy
dare
kill
you.
against Scala. They're going to get clapped. When RNG lose, you're going to have to sign some serious merchandise. That's
so-
all I'm saying.
Recollect, you remember how you said there's going to be 2 pentakills? It's going to be in the same game. One Gala gets a pentakill and the other one Isurus gets a pentakill. It's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be amazing.
It's gonna be high. That's
On the
also the game
support.
that goes like 50 plus minutes, by the way. It's all
yeah,
the same.
exactly. Jin Air SKT all over again.
Oh, no.
90 minutes, the dream.
90 minutes, but with kills is going to be insane. Most first blood. So here's the thing. I reckon Tian is going to have most first blood participation. But again, looking at stats, Tian doesn't get very many kills. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go with Kanavi. I'm going to believe in Kanavi that he's going to get most first blood kills. And most kills in a single game, Gala, because, you know, Isurus like their long games, right? So what better opportunity for Gala to get loads of kills than against Isurus in a 45-minute bloodbath?
But I'm going to be honest with you. They like their long games, but I'm not sure how long these games are going.
That's
Yeah,
true. Yeah, they like
that's
their long
not
games when
going
they're winning.
45.
They
Yeah.
might not have.
If they go 45 minutes, I don't care if they win or lose. That's a win for LLA as a region.
I don't
Yes.
think they have a choice. That's
More
the only-
stage time, baby.
To be honest, it's probably not going to be that. I reckon. You know what? So my hot take before one of you guys stole my hot take before I got to say it was RNG. When they promote and go up into Worlds, they're going to be the same group as Gen G, and they're going to have a lot of momentum. So I think Gen G will beat them over the course of the tournament. But I think in groups, RNG might beat them, and that first game between RNG and Gen G, that could be a big game for Gala. But yeah, all speculation. Moving on to teams then. For me, who wins Worlds is a toss-up between 3 teams. JDG, Gen G, Top Esports. I decided to go with JDG because yeah, I'm just going with favorites. I know there's a whole curse of favorites not winning worlds, but I'm trying to be reasonable, I guess. I guess that's one way of saying it. So I'm sticking with JDG. Fnatic to top Group A. To be fair, I did this before the whole upset in Hylissang thing. I don't know if I'll change it. It's tricky. I think I'm gonna leave it Fnatic. I'm gonna have faith in the team, the likes of Humanoid, and Wonder
They're
particularly.
going to get beamed. It's going to be great.
It's gonna get beaned. You know, beans are gonna win both groups, right?
Yeah.
Actually. And as I say that, I haven't put BJ to win Group B. It's RNG. It's always going to be RNG.
The
And then
Beaver Town.
obviously, which team from a region with 2 seeds? It's only one team. It is the one and only. It's GAM Sports, right? They're gonna make it. They're gonna top. Oh, they're not gonna top. They're gonna make it out of groups though. They're gonna make it to quarterfinals, semi-finals. Depends. It depends on who they get paired against. But quarterfinals, I'm a believer. And T1 with the most different championships at Worlds. That was just a statistics thing. I reckon T1 do it because I don't think G2 make it out of groups. Right, event stuff. So kind of similar logic to what Recollect did. So there was once a quote. I can't remember who said it, but it was like the people who the analysts who say that a 5-game series will be a 3-1 are those who want to say 3-0 but just don't have the guts to do it. So that's the one that I'm doing. I just don't have the guts to say 0. 2 pentakills. I think that's a realistic number. I don't think any game's going to go over 50 minutes. I reckon there's going to be a fair bit of Baron steals. There always are. I think it's more likely to be higher than 5 than less than 3. And then Witch Drake is just a random guess. So yeah,
Nice.
that's my overview.
Okay.
That I
Oh,
tried to speedrun.
And you speed run well.
Thank you.
So all seems fairly statistically accurate. I think it's all around about right. And I guess it's time to move on to the next then. Initialize.
Bring it up.
Tell me what you've got to tell us
Yeah,
about.
we'll do. So we'll start with some champions. I think Aphelios will be most picked during the champion select because there will be other champions that will be higher presence. But I think often it is something like an AD carry that's pretty high up in the pick rate because certain things will get banned and people go towards comfort matchups. And I think Aphelios right now is rising up in priority a little bit as one of those champions which people feel comfortable going on, especially when things like Kalista, Draven, Caitlyn are kind of hitting the ban table a little bit more. And AD carry champion pools tend to be a little bit more focused, shall we say, much like often the average jungle pool. So that's why I went for that one. And again, I'm kind of cheating a little bit by looking at what's going on in EU Masters and going, this is pretty high presence. Banned, I think Yumi's a good shout. I think I would have put Azir there, but I think Azir will just be highest presence, not highest banned. Aatrox, I've gone for highest win rate because I think it's been very, very dominant. Though I do hear the fact that it's because it is meta, I think there is a world where people play it enough that some people will lose on it, and I think there are counter picks into it. But fuck it, we put it in. Therefore, Aatrox. Maokai, I think, is a good shout. I think jungle, top, support, all very viable for this champion. I think he is strong enough to be able to do that. I think at least it'll happen at least once in those roles. I think Seraphine ends up in 2. I don't think in 3. So I think Maokai is a good shout. Leona is kind of rising in priority. Leona, much like Nautilus, is when you go in. That can be bad when things don't go well, and thus Leona will be a good shout. Though I'll be interested to see, I think this is most total death, so I'll be interested to see if the play rate is high enough for that. So I will be that. So that's my gamble, but it's a gamble nonetheless. Players, Ruler is one of those AD carries who just doesn't die a lot and will do his very best to survive. Keria is a madman, plays loads of crazy stuff, including the likes of Zac and Camille support, and it's between him and Lehens in my mind, so I think that's just a flip. Gala is just notorious for getting pentakills. He's in play-ins, therefore against opposition which is generally considered somewhat weaker, and therefore will have more opportunities to make it happen. So that's that one. Tian is Tian, therefore First Bloods, though, maybe it's just First Blood participation, and therefore that knocks that down. But hey, what are you going to do? I've gone for Comp as a little bit of a wild card. because I think when Rogue pop off through bot, they pop off really hard. And he is going to be playing things like the Draven and the Callista. And when they do win, I think they'll get a couple games. Part of that will be quite bloody, and Comp will be the one receiving a lot of those kills. So that's my guess. I think in other games or other people you could mention, Jackie Love, Knight, Chovy, whoever, when they get leads, they will be cleaner at closing out potentially, and thus I don't think it'll happen as much, and kills will get spread more around the team. I think Comp is just very good and will likely get a game where he pops off really hard, but that's a gamble. For whatever reason, my pick'ems pick JDG. That wasn't who I put there. I put T1. It just blew up. I've had to try and change that multiple times. That is a complete flip, by the by. I actually think if you're looking on paper it should be Gen.G or likely top in my mind with where the meta's going. But I think it's very, very unusual that the favorite actually wins. So I went with T1 because why not? They've won it a lot before. And I think the meta is shifting back towards being a little bit more lane dominant with AD carries like Lucian and Draven and Callista is much more, and Caitlyn for that matter, is much more what Gumayusi's good at, and will hopefully pull him out some of the slump he was struggling with in summer. So that's my gamble, but I understand that that's exactly what it is, and on paper that's not the best call. But hey, if you're going to win pick'ems, you have to throw a few wildcards in. That's that one. Like DFM, because Group A is a massive mess and people are dropping players left, right, and center. DFM are coming in with a lot of experience, a lot of talent, can play through multiple roles, multiple styles. We'll throw that gamble in, and I will wave my LJL flag until it falls off the standard, which it might do in Group A quite early on. But hey, we live in hope and breathe copium. RNG will come out first in Group B. There's no copium there. GAM are the most likely chance to advance with 2 seeds because they're very good. And I think pretty much every other option will have a horrible time. There's a world where PCS first seed, save me Nightstar. Thank you. I was having a moment where my mind was not working. It's like it's the family team, but I can't remember the name. The Flying
Team
Oysters
Family.
are not a bad shout, but I think GAM are just really good, and I'm excited to see them on world stage. I think people will underestimate them. I already said Kerry's playing the most champions, and T1, if they're going to win, are going to go play more games than anybody else in a lot of ways, and a lot of best of fives. So there's an easy route on that one. Then it's the gambles that are the bot lane stuff. Reverse sweeps 2, there's enough best of fives. I think someone's going to choke. I think someone will do it twice because it'll happen once in play-ins, it'll happen once in playoffs in the real ones. 2 pentakills, Gala will get 1. There'll be another one somewhere. Someone will play Darius and get it. What's the duration of the longest game? I've gone for the 50-minute one because I think, again, someone is just going to there'll be a really tense game where no one wants to take a flip and they won't have claimed dragons fast enough. So it won't be, we've got Elder, now we win, which is what's cut really long game times a lot. So I think it'll be one game where there'll be a late first dragon and then it'll be a flip on dragons until they end up with like a one team with 3, one team with the soul, and then you're waiting around Elder, and that will lead to a late game, but it won't be over an hour because it won't get that long. Baron steals, just put a load in because teams will flip. They've been doing it all damn year long. So I've just gone for a big number. I think 9 people flip far too often. There will be enough steals, especially with how long Worlds is at the minute. And then Cloud, because people sometimes do this thing with Cloud where they are happy to give up the occasional Cloud Dragon because the individual stats they don't care too much about. So more people will be less willing to give up other key Drakes if they're already in control of dragons in favor of other objectives. And so I think Cloud gets taken more often. Ocean's not a bad shout there as well, actually, on that front. And that's me.
That's rather poggers. And now that we do know, now that we've got sort of 3 people's opinions, I think we're starting to formulate a rough idea of sort of, we'll call it the general expectations, if you will. So the question now becomes, who's going to break the mold? Who is going to be the one to suggest something that seems to be outrageous in comparison? And RMC, it's time to find out if that's going to be you. What have you got on your list?
Look at that.
I feel like that's my role, this show. It's just sort of odd picks here. Okay. So that was the older pick'ems. If we could get them refreshed. You know what? Hold on. I think it's
We
changed, that's
refreshed.
why.
Relink.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Let me relink that. No, okay, because some of it has
Let's
changed.
take a
That
moment
was
to really look at these.
let's
that
take a
was
moment.
the initial one.
I love the fact that we.
A movie's
I
not a
love-
bad shout there.
Yeah, I think that's some good stuff on here, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I actually did change some of my stuff. So I'll start with my first one. The champion who I think will be most picked. The Aatrox is actually not something I picked. I had I can't remember what I had, but it wasn't Aatrox. I ended up switching to Vi because I was waffling between jungle and AD carry. We heard, AD carry usually is the most pinch pool, but I think jungle's up there, and I think AD carry this meta specifically hasn't been locked down yet. So I think jungle is actually going to be most pinch. I think we're going to see Hecarim, Vi, and maybe some Wukong and maybe some Viego. So I think Vi's priority is going to rise up with Hecarim being banned a lot. So I think she might be the most seen one because I don't think we're going to see other Vi bans. Caitlyn, we already went over that. I just think she's really strong, dominates the bot lane. Yuumi, a little bit of a cop out in a way. I honestly don't know. I thought Yuumi's kind of a win more champ, so we touched on it earlier. Different roles. Trundle was actually the one I was thinking of because I forgot about Maokai for a bit. And I changed to Maokai, but I went back to my original Trundle pick because top jungle support. And we have seen Trundle top and jungle regularly through summer. Support a little bit less, but we do have supports that play quite a few things. Amumu, same logic as Nautilus Leona. I just think Amumu dies more because he's squishier. And we see him built usually with a bit more AP, a little bit less tank. So we'll have to see. Amumu might fall out compared to Nautilus and Leona if we don't see too much Kalista, because I feel like he's more of a Kalista pick. So yeah, similar logic, just slightly different picks in terms of what I ended up opting for. Player-wise, I think this is the most boring part. I just kind of did the same as everything. I've got a lot of Gala. That's what I was saying.
You might say you've got a full gallery.
Yes, one might say. Highest KDA, I think for one, the fact that Gala will be playing in play-ins pads a lot of stats. So I expect to see Gala pick up a ton of kills. So KDA, pentakill, and most kills, mostly because of the play-in side of things. Might not be high as KDA because Gala also does die sometimes by playing over aggressive, and I think that's the most important thing. But we'll see. Most different champs, everybody's Keria Lehans. I think Keria played a few more champions in summer, so I just kind of went with Keria. That's a stats thing. Kanavi, I forgot about Tien, so I picked Kanavi because it was JDG. But yeah, I'm okay with Kanavi as most first blood kills. I think JDG is really strong.
Yeah,
in
in
general.
all honesty, I quite like that one because Kanavi is a bit more of a carry jungler anyway, so he might take more
True.
of the kills rather than giving them over. So I think that's actually not a bad shout anyway.
That's very
Shout
true.
out
Because I was
to-
kind of thinking the opposite. Where I'm like, but Kanavi, when you play carry jungler, sometimes you die. Like you don't get the kills early because carry junglers usually need a bit of time to scale. But you're right.
Bit flippy.
Hey, yeah. Maybe you get greedy. Teams wise, JDG. I do understand the curse that the favorites rarely win, but I just think LPL is stronger right now, and I think JDG is the strongest of the LPL teams. I already said EG, Group A. I'm sorry to Loud and TFM, but I can't in good faith put you over EG right now for Group A. Yeah, Group E, everybody put RNG. For this one, I know Gam's pretty high up there, but I just want the cautious stuff to keep saying CTBC Flying Oysters. I love that name
Hell
so much. I'm a big fan of that team, so go Oysters. And then T1, yeah, I picked Keria over Lehans, and I think Faker has a very diverse champion pool as well. Faker plays more unique champions, I believe, than Chovy does. So
Yeah, he has that option. He does play things like
Yeah.
the Galio over Chovy, who does like the more carry consistency. So yeah.
yeah, Faker just plays everything and anything the team needs. So
I just want to say, I really don't think we will, but I kind of hope we see a Faker Nico game. Because this guy, when he gets
Well,
Nico,
he used to be a really
he-
big Nico. That's true.
yeah.
he is a monster on Nico. I think people have forgotten this champion exists, but he is so good at this champ. And whilst it's not amazing into like the long range poke kind of stuff that can make sure that Nico can't get in, if she can get in, and there's an angle for it, I don't think she's in a super bad spot right now as a champion. I wouldn't be surprised to see Nico up here. Although it would be a surprise, but it wouldn't be unfounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Faker,
I mean,
mid lane Olaf, baby.
true.
Yeah,
I
into
know.
Aurelia.
The only player I know that will do it would be Faker, but because I
Yeah.
don't think many other players play it, so that's why it's not in the top 5. But it's something.
Yep.
Sorry.
And that's why I had T1. And then once we go into sort of the 4 fun guesses, yeah, reverse sweeps. I think we'll have a couple. Not a ton, but 1 or 2, I believe, out of 11 best of 5s. Pentakills. Yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few, especially in play-ins with RNG and DRX in there. I expect to see. I'd be disappointed if we don't see 3 pentakills at least in play-ins alone. The duration of the single longest one, I just kind of went for middle ground with the 45 minutes. I don't actually think we'll see that many long games, but I do expect to see 1 or 2 just from stall outs. I copped out for Baron steals as well. 9+ felt like a lot. I do expect a lot of Baron steals, but 9+ felt like a lot. So
I know,
went with
but
the
it's.
second
I know I
option.
did it. I went like, actually, I think it
Yep.
happens. I think people have been way more willing to flip, and I think I think we've seen multiple Baron steals in series. Never mind across the tournament. So
And you
I
see
don't know.
fluky ones happen all the time. A
Yeah.
Soraka Q
True.
over the wall and
And
Don't
it's
forget
like,
as
well.
pressure is going to be all year, and pressure means people just say, "Screw it, we flip."
And don't forget, we are in the land of the burgers. Like, if there's anywhere we're going to see some burger flips, it's gonna be NNA. I'm fucking honestly.
I actually
This
feel like
year's
NA
gonna be
hasn't had
great.
as many Baron steals and flips.
No, I
as
know
we've,
it's
like,
been EU has been the one with
Yeah.
flips.
like I think I've seen more in CBLOL and LJL than I have in the LCS, honestly.
I'm more
Um,
excited after doing this show than I have been for the actual build up for Worlds. So this is gonna be great. Now I'm actually excited for the region. This is gonna
I'm
be
gonna
cool.
be honest. I'm more hyped than I was after I watched that world song.
Yeah.
Oh,
That'll be
that's
the
a low
last thing.
blow.
That's the last thing we'll talk about, and then we can go home.
That's a low
afterwards.
blow. Okay, I'll just
We'll
quickly
talk-
round off. I just thought it was Cloud for Drakes
Yep.
because I just see a lot of Clouds. That's all. Like I didn't bother checking stats or thinking about it. I just went, I see Cloud. Let's say Cloud.
We all love a bit of Final Fantasy. Who doesn't love the cloud? Anyway.
FIFA
F7,
certainly
that's Final
does.
Fantasy.
Hell. Now, another man who might potentially love a bit of Cloud, Dragonson, and the king of the oysters, Nightstar.
Hey.
I'm disappointed myself.
Wouldn't that
I'm
be
changing-
ocean then?
No,
Oh,
they're
What about the ocean?
flying
They were like
oysters.
Fly.
Yeah, they're
They're
flying.
flying
Genius.
oysters.
Oh, sorry, I just realized. My God, I'm so dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Ocean
So-
man.
Oh.
So what we got here? We have
Wow.
MF. Honestly, this one was going to boil down to either jungle or AD carry for me. However, I looked over at EU Masters. The most picked champ is Sejuani. So
Sage is very strong.
maybe
Sejuani can jungle.
Sedge is a good
Sejuani
shout out,
can
right?
top.
Because you see her in top or jungle. I don't think Sedge top is going to be a big theme because there's so many good counter picks against that champion that you need a lot of bans to protect it. Caitlyn, I think, is the most banned. I've watched it being like nonstop banned out in CQ yesterday, so that's what I'm going to go with. Recency bias. Fiora, this one definitely in a spot to change because I think enough of the not as good teams will lock it in because it is going to have a good matchup and they're not going to be able to succeed on it. Morgana is a shout in the dark. Morgana in the bot lane with the Caitlyn, if it does get through, will be prominent. Morgana jungle, very good into certain matchups as well. Pioshik does play that. Peanut does play it as well. So that could be something that pops up. And what was it? Taki plays Morgana in the mid lane.
Not Tucky, Froggy.
Froggy.
Yeah, Froggy. Yeah,
Froggy?
yeah.
Okay,
He
yeah.
has, he has played it, I think, twice in his career, if I'm not mistaken.
And honestly, Morgana is a good enough champion that you can play it into the mid lane. So maybe we end up seeing it. That is also definitely a pick that is subject to change. Nautilus, though, not one to change for me. He's just going to sprint it. Whether he wins or loses, he's going in. So yeah, that was pretty easy pick there. So, the third and fourth one could go and change up. But what I'm not changing, player section, it's all RNG. They're going to get Omega padded in the play-ins. And because I have them winning worlds, it means they're going to get a ton of games. So, yeah, spoiler, I have them winning worlds.
Also,
so-
Nightstar, I just checked for you. Froggy hasn't played Morgana yet in his career.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Or was it Taki then?
Disaster.
Taki
Taki's a support.
definitely has played it. Taki is
Yeah.
a support. Yeah.
I just
Oh,
wanna say,
okay.
thank you so much for mentioning Sejuani, by the way, because there's some news on the grapevine that some bot lanes might have been dabbling in Yasuo Sejuani action. So
It's
another
pretty
one.
nuts
Yeah,
as a combo.
Neela
It's
Sejuani.
That's another
also
thing that
good.
people. So if people are like, we're talking about fringe potential multi-role champions, don't sleep on the 3 flex Sejuani because I've just changed my Maokai to Sedge now because I kind of want to try
Sage
that.
isn't a bad shout.
I think it's possibly there. Sorry. Anyway, back
Mhm.
to you.
Yeah, I also initially had Gragas for my multi-role champ
Okay, yeah, I can see
because
that.
he can go 4 roles, top jungle, mid support. Um, and there was a time during the summer split where there were some mid Gragas players. I saw it in PCS. Doing B brought it out in LPL, so I was considering throwing that down.
Cool.
But yeah, players, it's all RNG. Breathe, diving into Breathe, top lane, they get counter pick. So I think he also has a very diverse champion pool, and he's going to be
Yeah,
able
it's
to
not true.
expand a lot on it because he's playing in play-ins. Wei, most First Bloods, because he's playing in play-ins. Along with, I think they'll go deep in Worlds because I think they'll win Worlds. So the extra game time means that he should eventually come out on top. Now, the teams, RNG, winning Worlds, EG, I still think are in a good spot to win Group A because they don't have to adjust their sleep schedules. They don't have to do any like jet lag stuff. And the other teams haven't exactly had the most amount of time to readjust as well. So I think that will give EG enough of an advantage in Group A to come out Group B. No surprise. GAM I have coming furthest in groups because I think their Group C is the most volatile, up and down, just all 4 teams that I can very much see them coming out of that group. Whereas in Group D, with RNG slotting in, if RNG makes it through Group B, it's sort of a 2-man race in that group. So it's going to be hard for CFO to actually get out of that one. Which team will play the most different champs at Worlds? I didn't put RNG for this one because they don't exactly exercise the flashiest champion pool depth. I have Top Esports because 369 also a player that flexes his champion pool. Knight is really crazy with his. So I think those two will definitely bring out a lot. Reverse sweeps, I don't think there will be any. I think for the most part, it's not going to go open out as a 2-0 and then come back. For the most part, it seems like the series this year, or at least League in general, has been, if it's going to be a sort of comeback scenario, it's going to be more of a back and forth. Pentakills, 2, Shadow and Dark, Magala, probably he gets both of them. Duration along a single game in Worlds, I don't think it goes to 50 minutes. Baron steals, I think there's going to be a ton because if you're ahead, you flip because even if they steal it, you ace them. If you're behind, you flip, and what happens? The better jungler on the other team that's ahead will probably just steal it. So I think there's going to be more than 9. It feels really easy for me to say it's 9. And then Cloud Drake because Cloud Soul is the highest winning soul, guys.
Yes.
This.
Mhm.
And
Jamada's got to you as well, I take it. Honestly, that
Yamada
man
gets to
is
everyone.
that man has corrupted the entire League of Legends casting scene. He and Atlas are the kind of peddlers that need bringing to justice.
No, I just
tell
saw
you.
the tweet. It was an NA. It was an NA analyst or something that posted like the numbers, like win rates on Dragon Souls, and it was like, look, guys, it's like 80% win rate for Cloud Soul, without presenting, reasoning. He just said, look, it's good.
Out of
And
curiosity, what
I
were
mean,
the
that,
win
I
rates
mean,
for
that
the
is a
other
pretty good win
souls?
rate, in fairness.
he got like burned at the stake. So yeah, that was a fun tweet that lit Twitter on fire for a brief moment.
Justice Steel recollects theme for the day. Was it the Infernal Soul Enjoyers that were burning him at the stake?
Oof. Oof. They got roasted. It was a tough,
More like grilled the steak.
tasty.
Yeah, I prefer my steak grilled.
But what we like is we like our commentary and our content raw, and I'm expecting a nice fresh, shall we say, like a steak, opinion here by Bloxer. What have you got to bring to the table here on your pick'ems? Ooh, spicy.
Alright, so I've gone with the Ornn as the most picked during Worlds because I think the good teams will pick him up when he's a really, fits well into the team composition. He always is prevalent throughout picks and bans, and I think he'll slip through often enough to be prevalent. But then I think the teams who are outclassed will also put their top laners on the Ornn just to try to keep them in a situation where the Ornn will always be relevant to be able to survive. And so I can see the Ornn being picked up quite a lot by quite a lot of different teams. He's good for the teams who are confident. He's good for the teams who don't have that much confidence. For the Yuumi, I mean, I've gone through my Yuumi reasonings a lot before. She's just annoying. Pro players don't like playing against her. I think she'll be banned a lot, but when she does slip through, she can absolutely change the way that the game is played. Maokai, we've said before, as well as Leona, for kind of obvious reasons. Leona's going to go in and die. Maokai is getting buffed up quite a lot, probably going to have some prevalence in the top lane and support, and maybe someone takes him into the jungle when they get pinched and they don't really know what else to do. If we take a look down at the players, I've gone with Upset for the highest KDA, which I still am going to keep. I think
Bold.
if
Pog.
he comes in at like halfway through play-ins, absolutely destroys some people, and then gets knocked out just before they get out of playing. So he actually ends up playing maybe 3 games, 2 games where he destroys people, 1 game where he dies a couple times. I could see his KDA still being excellent. The longer we go into the tournament, I still think he's got a good shot because he just does not die in wins, especially. But with Fnatic being a little bit iffy on who's actually playing, I'm not sure. Hence for obvious reasons, and then 3 Galas right here. I just think Gala is a ridiculous player, and like people have been saying, being in the play-ins means that his stats are going to get padded.
Yeah.
The
It's the
One-
stat padding. Alright, so if we take a scroll down to the
one thing I
final couple
would
of these.
quickly say about Fnatic is that because of the group's rules, I believe they won't be allowed to go into Group B, which is the JDG, G2, and
They will be.
Scandal.
So to clarify, Riot released a statement specifically in case that you end up with multiple EU seeds out. Basically, with that, if that did come out, there would be an exception to allow 2 teams from the same region to end up in the same group. Basically,
Interesting.
specifically for EU.
Okay.
So that is still a possibility.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was for the play-ins, but
No, that is
Cool.
for if people emerge from players. Of course, there's a world where, for me, for example, I don't think Mad make it out.
no.
So I don't think that will come into effect. But if they were to, that would be the case.
Interesting. Okay. Apologies for that then. That's some new information. That I did not know that. That's fantastic.
That's
good to know.
only if 4 teams get it. That's only if there's 4
Actually,
teams.
Is it fantastic that they could get into a group with JDG, G2, and TR?
That would be a sweaty group.
That would suck.
Not if you like Fnatic, but
That's a rough one. But okay. Sorry. Anyway, continue. Apologies.
for which team will win Worlds, I've gone with T1 just because of their legacy, and I'm also of the opinion of going for the people who you expect to win never works. And I quite like T1. I'd like to see Faker come back, and I think the meta's a little bit more in their favour at the moment. Fnatic and RNG are pretty obvious choices for getting out of their groups first. Fnatic would have been more obvious if they had all their players, but I still think that Bean has a chance, and although I do sound very down on them quite a lot, that's just because Fnatic hurt me repeatedly and religiously, basically, but at least in this situation, I have a tiny bit of faith. On the side of GAM, this is my, official application to the VCS broadcast. Please take me, because I think GAM will do really well for themselves in Worlds. And then for G2, they play so many different champions. I don't know how well they'll do, but they love to pull something completely random out, and I can see them being the team that just is constantly picking completely off the walls things. If G2 was in play-ins, I'd definitely think this was a solid pick, but as it stands, I'm still pretty confident. And I kind of went with the highest picks you could on the events. I'm actually going to change that Baron Steals 1 to 9+ as well. I've been convinced. For the duration of the games one, I just think one singular game will just keep going. Nobody will win. It's going to be 2 Elders down. It's the sort of game that we're used to in the LLA. I don't think the rest of the world is used to those games, but when you've got incredibly high-class players against each other and nobody wants to lose, I can see a single game going to maybe 55 and 1 second. I don't know if it will hit the hour mark, but that 5 minutes before the hour mark, I've seen quite a lot of games go to that point. And then for the rest of them, just as high as you can get. And Hextech Drake, because it's the Drake that, while maybe not having the best win rate, people look at it and they go, yeah, I think I want this Hextech. Everybody likes the things that it gives. Cooldown reduction is a great stat, and so it'll just be picked up by teams a lot, especially as that first or second Drake, when they can just see, oh, I'll just grab that one quickly. And then as a soul, it's just excellent. So, yeah, that's my picks.
There we go. That is, I think it's fairly. I think it's interesting that whilst there are. What?
Got him.
Round of applause.
Got him.
Round of applause.
Oh dear.
I
This
like
is
the
what
fact that
happens
the-
when you have the
God
best
damn
producer
it!
in the world
Okay, I
in a
wasn't
game.
looking at that.
You get these
Ah.
bangers.
I
Yeah,
thought
so the-
Recollect did that himself.
I did. I
Oh,
made that.
okay, you
Did
did.
you?
Okay,
Yeah, I made that. I had
Oh,
a
okay.
second. I saw the RNG thing and I went, "Yep, I know what I'm doing today."
Fair enough.
But I didn't expect him to put it up on the stream. So clearly, you get to see all of the
The
random
memes
bullshit I
behind the
do.
scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do a lot of random stuff while we're broadcasting. No, Meg.
It's ironic when we got a guy literally called Random Minion Caster, so you know.
Oh yes, the
And he
the,
was not the one to make the random meme, Saj.
I know.
he's,
There's no kitchen you've got today. What's going on? Where's the random kitchen?
I'm representing CB LOL. The kitchen's an LJL special.
you need to slide that kitchen in there for like one team. I think what we should do at some point is if we do another if we do another broadcast, you do each of the teams logos on each of the two sides of the room. That's
Hey,
There's an
if
angle.
DFM make it out of groups or play-ins,
Yeah.
you'll get
It's
the kitchen.
time. Yeah, exactly.
okay. It's kitchen. It's a kitchen angle.
I mean,
Fantastic.
I don't think it's
Kitchen stream,
entirely
baby.
unrealistic. I don't think it's necessarily likely.
I don't think
but
it's
I think it's
unrealistic.
I think they got a solid shot. Anyway,
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
There is a chance. There's also a chance of Isros can make it out. Let's go, boys. We got.
No, there's not.
Yes,
Like, that's
shots
it, like-
for the win. This
All-
boy.
I mean,
Yeah,
there is
all
All
a
I'm
well.
chance.
saying is, if it was a statistic, that would be a statistical anomaly and not considered a viable result if that was in
is true.
stats. So
That
you
is
know.
fair. I will hold this L this year, but in 4 years' time,
Well, I mean, to be
I'll probably
honest,
still be
because
holding it,
it'd
but
be
we'll see.
based off one's world's appearance, it's a statistical anomaly no matter which way it goes.
You know what? That's fair. I don't. You know what? I put that out there to meme and be mean, but I
Yeah.
probably just wrong. The analogy breaks down quite quickly. So
Sorry,
you know.
guys. We've
I'm
won the
sorry for
same.
putting it on.
We've all won the same amount of worlds championships, so we're
Yeah.
all the same. You know, we're all as good as.
Oh.
as...
Hang on.
Taipei
No.
Assassins.
Team
No.
13 season 2, Taipei
No.
Assassins. Who do you think you are?
What I'm hearing here is
Nice
know,
one.
Loud-
It's
Loud
winning
has
on
won-
everything.
that-
Official
wait, 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 go.
broadcast.
the
winning
Loud won
worlds.
a Valorant championship.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. I was gonna say,
There we go.
Get
There
him.
we
we've
go.
actually Loud has actually won a worlds. I'm sorry, but I don't think
Yeah,
Flying
you know who else
Oysters or
won a
Beyond can
world?
say that just
Boom.
yet.
Okay, well, rounding it all up, I think it's interesting. You know, it feels like people are roughly around the same area. There are a couple of things that are all like, I can understand the logic behind pretty much everyone's picks. For most of these, there's like one or two that are interesting, but it's all around what I think people would expect. No one's been psychopathic. It's like I can't pronounce that word, and I'm not going to try to anymore.
Psychotic, psychopathic.
A little bit of
All of the above.
Yeah.
all of them.
Psychotic.
It's just a Wednesday night. To be
Just-
honest with
Batshit insane.
you. Yeah.
Are there any
I-
other ways to say this person's a bit off the rocker?
A couple beans short of a.
They play
Field.
Yumi.
That's true.
A couple beans short of a bot lane?
They.
There we go.
See that's why he does the work. Anyway, I guess the last thing is before we all go, and this will be the last thing. Thoughts on the world's music video and song.
It's so close to being good.
I feel like for me personally, I am of the thought process that it's a good pop song that is probably like 20th in the chart, and then I would listen to it if it came onto my Spotify playlist, but I probably wouldn't search for it. That's kind of where I'm at. That's my take, as hot as that may be.
All right.
Yeah.
Really catchy hook. Really
Yep.
catchy hook. It's actually a good song, and I think it's well produced and a little bit different. That's all good. I think it suffers from not having an intense moment early enough into the song. The bit where it actually does drop is after like the third chorus or something, which I think I can understand why people then go, doesn't really hype me up for Worlds. I think it's also hurt by the fact that the music video is very bland. It doesn't really say all that much in terms of a story. It's just a load of people riding on mechs, which is kind of cool. But a lot of those players aren't coming. The animation style's a bit flat. I think it's a bit lacking in story as well. And so you kind of got this disconnect between the music and the music video, and the music video itself isn't particularly great. And also, it doesn't play into a lot of tropes for hype music. I like
No.
the song, I do. I just don't think it's like necessarily playing to what people expected the brief for a world song is supposed to be. Compare that to something like Legends Never Die, Rise, even Taken Over, right? Like there's Taken Over doesn't drop that hard, but it's got quite it's still got that kind of more intensity, more of a drive to it, and I think
I
that's
think-
not there in Star Walking.
With taking over as well is that I feel like even if the hype might not, I think it's still hypey, but the bigger thing about that song is it feels like the storytelling, at least in the animation, is definitely there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For that song in
Yeah.
particular, the
The
story of
video
ambition.
can carry them,
It
and
was,
this one just it's fine.
here's a question. I don't think I would know this is a League related world song if I didn't already know it was a League related world song. Do you know what I'm saying?
I would have said the same about Rise, though.
Yeah.
That's
Or
fair.
Legends Never
You
Die,
can tell
actually,
that
for that
there's
matter.
at least you can tell that there's a story with Rise, whereas this one it's
You know there's a story to Rise because they did the music video to tell the story. Otherwise, that just becomes a story about.
Just don't watch the
overdub
live
challenges.
version.
Well,
Yeah,
this
I don't
is
think it-
this
God,
is
yeah.
my one point actually with Star Walking is that Rise, awful performed live. Giants, which was obviously not a world song, but was then performed live at the 2019 Worlds, also awful. Most live performance, live music isn't as good as it is just in the music video. But because of who this is, I think as an audience member watching, I don't find them as hype when you can hear them trying to breathe harder. They can't get it all through. But with who is singing this song, I think that this will be a very exciting actual live performance in the stadium, which I don't think it will redeem the song, but it does at least count in its favor.
I just hope it doesn't get like the DJ Khaled reaction from like the Overwatch League. You know what I mean?
Overwatch
or like the
Yeah, it was
ninja where he
unfortunate.
was like flossing in front of a bunch of like
Oh, if he has flossing
Yeah.
for
New
New
Year's?
Year. Oh.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? I really
Like-
hope it's not the same as that. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I like.
No,
I'll
no.
say the LEC finals had a really good version of the track they did there. That was actually very well done. And I also think if you remember the
They did
LCS
Awaken, didn't they?
finals from last spring, where C9 won, they had Pentakill come and do it, and people went, "Oh my god, he's clearly auto-tuned." It's like, nope, that was all live, and the singers are just that good. Sometimes it's just having people who are really good come and do it, and I don't think it's a lot harder to hide live mistakes on a live stream broadcast than it is if it's just live in a big venue where it's so noisy you don't notice the mistakes, or you get a chance to go back and edit stuff, which is what they do for music videos and stuff, or like live albums.
I would like
There's
to
a
say,
lot less room to hide in this space.
yeah, I would like to quickly say as well for the Rise Live, I don't want to say anything negative towards the guy who does the chorus, the actual like that bit. He does that really well. It's Mako that I have an issue with because that was garbage. That's my take. That's all I'm saying about that. The other guy did a really good job, and I think if you listen to it live back, you will get what I mean because he's actually not too far off of what it actually is in the video. So credit where credit's due. Yeah, I don't have much else to say, which is a rarity.
That happens when you talk for 3 hours straight.
I want to eat
Bloody
I
hell.
food.
need
to be
food.
honest
There's
with you,
food in my
so,
kitchen
Food.
waiting for me.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's calling. It's just over there and it's calling me.
if anyone has anything
You
else
know
that they would,
what? I think we need to start walking to the food.
start walking.
Yeah.
Star Walking.
Right. I'm just gonna jump in right here and say thank you everybody so much for doing this. I honestly was terrified reaching out. I thought all of you were way above my level and DMing was so many iterations of the same message written out and deleted because it sounded wrong, too formal, too informal. So thank you for responding to me, and also Mege, thank you so much for doing this. You are
We
far
love
far better
Megan,
than
we love Blablog
a little stream, but thank you.
Okay, my hand hearts suck, but there you have one. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for those who aren't following everyone here,
Do it.
it.
Do it. Ad is on the
th-
socials.
they're on the screen. It's
Yeah.
right there.
It's
Don't
it's
follow
visible.
Nightstar though; it's not worth it. His
Oh,
tweets
no,
are
okay.
Mid.
Go follow Recollect.
Hog, I'm getting all the followers when I don't post anything. Let's go, guys. I definitely don't.
Well,
really post-
you'll be
That's
posting
why
that
you follow
picture
him.
though.
Yeah,
I
he
am
won't
posting
spam your
a fat
timeline.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know about you guys. The only thing I post is like when I'm going live on things. I don't do. But tonight, whoa, got some spice. Anyway,
Follow Nightstar for more flying oysters.
Yes.
I just
I expect
post
a
getting
lot of-
stabbed by
Follow-
lightsabers.
Follow random minion caster for some kitchen thing that I don't know the context to.
Oh, you don't need to. Yeah, don't worry. There's,
You don't
It
worry
doesn't
about
show on my Twitter.
It's Gordon Ramsay who's decided he can't cook, so he's having kitchen nightmares. That's what it is.
It's okay. I'm glad that you all tuned in, but it's time for us to probably kick out ourselves for the evening. Thank you so much for coming to watch. Thank you to all of the lovely guests of Nightstar, Random, Minion, Caster, or RMC, Milky Cereal 73 on the Twitters, Initialize, and obviously the person who brought this all together, Black Boxer. Thanks so much for stopping on by. And before we leave, Meg, we love you. You're sexy. You're brilliant. But not as brilliant as it is to go and eat food. See you later, bitches.